Chapter 1. The County Young Master's Modest Aspirations Amidst Turbulence. In a long-paying dynasty, the relentless conflicts with the Xiongnu had persisted for years. The dynasty, now in decline, managed to barely defend itself thanks to the formidable natural barriers of Liangzhou. Nestled at the confluence of Yongzhou and Liangzhou, the terrain is intricate mountains, rivers, vast deserts, and grasslands intertwine. The bustling populace of those who consume rice and flour thrives in the Jin City County, situated in the northwestern corner of the dynasty's borders. Within this county resides a magistrate named Wang Yi, seemingly a branch of the prominent Wang clan from Qingzhou. He maintains a modest household with only one wife and no concubines, raising a son and a daughter. While not extraordinarily wealthy, they live comfortably, free from the pangs of hunger and cold. His eldest daughter possesses considerable talent, particularly in medicine. Leveraging her father's modest official status, she was sent to the Jianghu Academy to study medical principles. She did not disappoint upon her return. She established a reasonably sized clinic in the provincial capital of Tyne. At nearly 40, Wang Yi was blessed with a son who he indulged excessively, perhaps due to the joy of late parenthood. This young master, known as Wang Samping, exhibited an unremarkable demeanor and character, though his appearance was somewhat refined. A severe illness during his teenage years left him with numerous freckles, and despite seeking remedies from various esteemed physicians in Liangzhou, no improvement was seen until his sister discovered a remedy after much deliberation, rendering his complexion relatively clear. Originally, Wang Yi intended to name his son Wang Guangyu, hoping he would achieve scholarly success and ascend the ranks of officialdom to amass wealth. However, when the county magistrate's wife registered their son, she altered the name to Wang Guangyu, believing that the pursuit of gold and jade seemed banal. The new name, implying vastness and grandeur, was deemed more fitting. Wang Yi, attributing his son's lackluster performance to this name change, often found himself in heated discussions with his wife on the matter. The county boasted a local academy, where a teacher named Yao Yuan, a man of considerable repute, taught in remote villages that he charged a mere handful of rice as tuition to facilitate education for the village youth, prompting him to relocate from the city to the countryside. Under Yao Yuan's tutelage, Wang Guangyu studied diligently, despite the presence of other esteemed teachers in the county who had produced top scholars. It was curious that Wang Yi chose this particular teacher for his son, forbidding him from traveling by carriage to the countryside. When questioned, he would recount, in the previous dynasty, a great scholar carried his own burdens and traversed deep mountains and valleys to achieve success. Thus, the young master resided in the countryside, returning home only after a month of study. Today, the small county town buzzed with excitement as the young master celebrated his comingafage ceremony. Wang Guangyu donned splendid attire, exuding a semblance of nobility. His elder sister, Wang Yinqing, arrived from Yongzhou to present him with a fine cold blade named Fuguang. The customs of the Northwest are often fierce, with men typically valorizing martial prowess, earning them the moniker of barbarians from the Jiangnan and Central Plains. After the ceremony, Wang Yi introduced a rugged, burly man to Wang Guangyu, exclaiming with laughter, "Most of your father's colleagues' children excel in academia, but I see you may not be cut out for scholarly pursuits. Wang Samping has already made a name for himself in Jin City. Why not learn a few skills from this renowned swordsman and earn some military merit in the future to honor your father?" Wang Guangyu scrutinized the rugged-faced man, who bore a box on his back, his visage adorned with stubble and clad in coarse linen, that he soon recognized him as Li the Butcher, known for slaughtering pigs at the marketplace, a stark contrast to the legendary figure of the swordsman in the green robe whispered about in the streets. Wang Guangyu chuckled heartily in response. "If you can summon the world's finest with such a trivial title, then I shall surely become a person of influence in Jincheng County in the days to come." Upon hearing this, the butcher fell silent. Wang Yi gave Wang Guangyu a playful kick on the backside, admonishing, "Do not presume that donning a cap makes you a true official. Since you are aware that our father cannot summon renowned figures, it will be wise to learn from Mr. Yao, so that you may earn a degree and bring honor to our father. In time, you can boast alongside your peers about your children," as was his custom. Wang Guangyu merely laughed it off and changed the subject. The following day, before dawn had broken, Wang Guangyu set forth on his journey to Mr. Yao's private academy. It was already December, and the northwest had been blanketed with snow. Wang Guangyu tightened his cotton coat, muttering under his breath about when he might don a fox fur and enjoy the snowy landscape from a pavilion on a lake, inadvertently. Quickening his pace, as daylight broke, Wang Guangyu finally arrived at Mr. Yao's academy. Mr. Yao, already a handsome figure, stood out even more in his white attire against the backdrop of the snowy landscape, holding a scroll in his left hand while the other rested behind his back, exuding an air of an otherworldly sage. Any ordinary woman would surely exclaim upon seeing such a refined scholar, while Wang Guangyu, with his frostbitten red face, stood in stark contrast. Accustomed to Mr. Yao's ethereal demeanor, Wang Guangyu stepped inside, found a spot near the hearth, and promptly fell asleep. Before he could drift into dreams, Mr. Yao roused him with a book. Wang San, typically gentle and mild-mannered, was jolted awake. The other students erupted in laughter, while a solitary youth in the corner remained engrossed in his studies, unfazed by the commotion. The days that followed mirrored the current one, flowing by as unremarkably as a stream trickling through the mountains, yet never ceasing. As this young master stretched and snored, the dawn of a new year approached, bringing with it the pivotal examination, a matter of utmost importance to scholars, even more so than a beloved concubine. Wang San, who considered himself of humble ambition and talent, closed his eyes and murmured, "May Confucius bless me. May Confucius bless me." While the examination loomed large, one must also confront the immediate concerns, such as the impending Lunar New Year. Interestingly, within the jurisdiction of Jincheng County, particularly in the sub-county of Shigu, destiny had not favored the populace with great wealth or nobility, yet they had never suffered from warfare. The territory of Jincheng lay adjacent to the Xiongnu border, a site of contention for decades between two dynasties. However, Shigu County, situated in the southeast of Jincheng, had remained unscathed by the ravages of war. The layout of Shigu City resembled the Bagua I Ching, as if celestial beings had guided the naming of the county, endowing it with a sense of stability. Indeed, as such, the residents of the county, though robust, were not savage. Today marked the eve of the new year, and the county town radiated peace and harmony. Young children, donning freshly sewn tiger-head cotton jackets, dashed about with firecrackers and colorful candies. Even those from impoverished families received a few pieces of newly purchased pork from their neighbors, along with some old yet intact garments. The county magistrate's household mirrored this spirit of communal sharing. Wang Guangyu had long since returned home, pretended to read a few pages of text, and then wandered aimlessly outside. Observing the harmonious scene around him, he could not help but smile slightly. The warmth of human existence is indeed soothing to the heart of mortals, he mused, acknowledging the truth in the saying, the young master, with his hands clasped behind his back, quoted classics, and fancied himself exceptionally handsome. A cold snort shattered Wang Guangyu's reverie. It was none other than he, the youngest son of the prominent He family in the county, who, with nothing to occupy his time, wandered about the town much like this young master. He had displayed remarkable talent from a young age, particularly excelling in mathematics and physics. His reputation, much like that of Wang Sanping, had spread to Jincheng County and even to Liangzhou. The two had been childhood friends, often climbing trees to find bird nests and fishing in the waters. However, after reaching adulthood, their paths diverged considerably, yet this had not diminished their bond. After meandering for a while, they began to feel a pang of hunger and sought out a small stall where they ordered 2 bowls of beef noodles. With a significant influx of immigrants, Jincheng County was home to a variety of culinary delights, and the beef noodles were particularly notable for their vibrant colors and rich flavors, combining elements from the regions of Shishu, Northeast, Central Plains, and Jiangnan. Even after finishing their meal, they felt unsatisfied. Eager to embrace the local customs of the Northwest, they requested the vendor to slice 3 jin of marinated meat and ordered a jar of Shifeng wine. This marked their first experience with alcohol. The wine, described as fragrant and elegant, sweet and refreshing, indeed wafted an enticing aroma. Yet upon tasting, it turned out to be overwhelmingly spicy. Their initial attempts at refined drinking and composing poetry ended in failure. As dusk settled, they exchanged polite farewells, saying, "Let's each return to our respective homes and mothers," and parted ways. Carrying the jar of Shifeng wine home, Wang Guangyu found his mother preparing dumplings, ready to be boiled. With a cheeky grin, he offered to help, only to be shooed away by his mother. On New Year's Eve, the reunion dinner was heartwarming, and Wang Yi allowed his son to partake in drinking for the first time, laughingly proclaiming, "A man from the northwest who cannot ride, shoot, or drink will surely be ridiculed. Now that you have come of age, it is time for you to drink heartily." As midnight approached, fireworks illuminated the county, and firecrackers resounded. Wang Guangyu remarked, "With ample rain and snow this year, we are sure to enjoy a bountiful harvest next year." Amidst this festive scene, a constable arrived with alarming news of a blood-soaked figure dragging a knife into the city. Wang Yi's expression shifted dramatically. He hastily mounted his horse, disregarding the need to change into official attire. By the time Wang Yi returned, he was accompanied by several ironclad cavalrymen. A burly leader among them spoke. "The Xiongnu have suddenly waged war, and the front lines were unprepared. In a matter of days, we have lost the cities of Suzhou and Ganzhou, hence we come here to recruit soldiers." Wang Yi inquired, "Not long ago, the families of Liangzhou donned mourning garb, and the court dispatched troops from Qingzhou and Yizhou to resist the Xiongnu. Why the need for further recruitment?" Upon hearing this, the burly man was overcome with emotion, tears streaming down his face as he choked out, "They are all dead, every last one of them." In Ganzhou and Suzhou, Xiongnu spies opened the city gates under cover of night, launching a surprise attack. The troops from Qingzhou fled in disarray. Many of our brothers, intoxicated during the New Year celebrations, lost their heads in the chaos. I led these survivors through the siege, racing to Jinshan County. If it were not for such dire circumstances, I would not be here demanding soldiers. Before he could finish his lament, a sword severed his head in an instant. A young man clad in blue robes and silver armor approached, exuding arrogance. "Preposterous! My Wang family of Qingzhou is the foremost clan of the current dynasty. When have we ever scattered and retreat? We merely conserve our strength to avoid direct confrontation. Moreover, do you expect us to sacrifice ourselves for you, these barbarians of the Northwest?" The young man wiped the blood off his sword with the fallen man's garment and spat disdainfully. He then slowly advanced towards Wang, suddenly recalling, "You, Wang Yi, are also a remarkable talent from the Wang family of Qingzhou. Standing in the wrong camp. A waste is indeed a waste. No amount of innate ability can amend such folly. Now, having fallen to this state, it is merely a consequence of your own actions. How dare you obstruct me while I am conscripting soldiers in your county?" Wang Yi's countenance darkened, and the menacing figures behind him, a score of ironclad cavalry, mirrored his expression. However, with the military discipline of the Northwest, regardless of whether one is a civil or military official, the rank of a magistrate is a heavy burden to bear, let alone that of a mere county command. Reluctantly, Wang Yi stepped aside, permitting the cavalry to scour the city for recruits. Hearing a commotion outside the residence, Wang Guangyu approached with a lantern to investigate. Upon witnessing the headless corpse, he collapsed in terror. The disdain in the eyes of the man clad in a silver robe deepened as he turned his horse and departed. On the eve of the Lunar New Year, a sudden heavy snowfall descended upon the city. Young men poured into the streets, while the cries of women and children filled the air. The white snow blanketed the crimson lanterns, casting the entire city in a shroud of mourning. In the Lord's mansion, tears streamed down Wang Yi's face as he cried out thrice to the heavens, lamenting his fate. Chapter 2. A city cloaked in sorrow, scholars frantically wielding pen and blade. The prestigious He family has dwindled in numbers, with half of their kin conscripted during the new year. Many women, burdened by thoughts of their husbands, have succumbed to lingering ailments. The entire clan rallied to protect He and one other on the second day of the new year. The He family was engulfed in wails of despair. No one discerned whether the young master of the He family shed tears, only that his face was buried in the snow. In the days that followed, he adopted the name He Fengwen. His literary demeanor shifted abruptly, becoming dark and cunning. Mr. Yao's numerous attempts to counsel him bore no fruit, and he rarely interacted with Wang Guangyu. As time passed, the date of the June examinations swiftly approached. He Fengwen, endowed with exceptional talent since childhood and having studied under Mr. Yao for decades, effortlessly ascended to the position of the top scholar of Jinshan County. High-ranking officials from the county personally traveled to Shigu City to meet him. Surprisingly, the scholarly spirit of Mr. Yao's disciples was not monopolized by He Fengwen alone. that Wu Haomong, the eldest daughter of another prominent family in the city, achieved second place in the examinations, marking the small town's emergence with two top ranks in the county's scholarly assessments after 6 months of desolation. Nevertheless, in this world, misfortunes outweigh fortunes, and there are always a few rejoicing amidst the sorrow of many. Not everything unfolds as splendidly as one might hope. Such was the case for Wang Guangyu. As Mr. Yao had predicted, Wang Guangyu naturally failed to make the cut. The townsfolk buzzed with gossip. Both of Wang Yi's parents were learned individuals. Regardless of Wang Yi's circumstances, Wang Guangyu's mother, Liao Qian, was once celebrated for her poetic prowess. Yet after giving birth to him, she devoted herself to her family, and her reputation gradually waned. As for Wang Guangyu, the central figure of this affair, he remained largely unaffected. Having been labeled as San Ping since childhood, he had grown accustomed to such occurrences. What astonished him, however, was how the usually unremarkable Wu Haomong managed to achieve second place. Wu Haomong possessed a timid disposition, blushing at the slightest provocation during disputes. Yet for Wang Guangyu, their childhood was different. She would chase him with a mop in playful defiance, as if it were her birthright, and her barbs and jests were frequent and unrelenting. Wang Guangyu, plagued by a headache, contemplated his predicament. This year's examination had not gone well. Merely a stroke of misfortune had landed him at the very bottom of the rankings. He thought to himself that he could always wait 3 years to try again. Wang Yi shared a similar sentiment, yet the mere thought of the capricious and spirited woman of the Wu family brought him immense distress. Wang Guangyu mused, if only I could avoid her when she leaves the city for Xianyuan Academy in 3 days. It's a pity for my son, who will surely be heartbroken at not seeing his father off. Perhaps I should go now. With that, Wang Guangyu took up the cool blade and made his way to the He family mansion. After a brief knock, who had not been seen for 6 months, finally opened the door. Wang Guangyu observed the pale and somewhat brooding scholar, whose usual nonchalance had vanished, and silently offered his congratulations. In 3 days, you shall depart for the capital to assume an official post. The desolate northwest awaits you. You are finally leaving this place of turmoil. Before you go, I have asked Wang Yi to commission a master craftsman from Jincheng County to forge this cool blade for you. T remains unnamed, but it will serve as a means of protection on your journey. Do not say, I have cursed you if you encounter bandits or thieves. Consider it a token of remembrance. He accepted the blade with an expressionless demeanor, replying, I shall accept this gift. Since it remains unnamed, let us call it Nianliang. Wang Guangyu, with a sorrowful countenance, turned to leave. Another has departed. I wonder who shall discuss the beauty of young women with me in the future. He finally allowed a smile to grace his lips as he shouted, to hell with you. 3 days later, outside Shigu City, the He and Wu families set off early on their journey to the capital. The midsummer air carried a hint of autumn's melancholy, and the once vibrant little town fell silent once more. On this day, Wang Guangyu refrained from seeing them off at the city gate, instead locking himself away in his room, where a letter lay on his bedside. The elegant script within starkly contrasted with his current state of mind. The 4 characters inscribed read, a bag of wine and a sack of rice. Wang Guangyu had exerted great effort to evade the cutting remarks of the Wu woman, yet he ultimately failed. He could only manage a bitter smile, muttering, this woman is utterly vexing, her beauty is a waste. Good riddance, perhaps I shall find some peace. Typically the most boisterous of men, Wang Guangyu now craved solitude, exhaling a deep sigh 3 times, good riddance, good riddance, good riddance. As old friends departed one by one, the city felt eerily desolate. Thoughts of He and Wu Haomong, along with the myriad others who had left this place, flooded Wang Guangyu's mind. Stepping outside, he was met with a blazing sun that felt as cold as early spring or late autumn. The sky was clear, and the songbirds fluttered about, yet he raised his hand to shield his face, cursing, the wind and sand of the northwest are unbearably fierce. After a month of respite, Wang Guangyu finally resolved to return to his studies. His own failures weighed heavily on him, yet the successes of his friends stoked a deep-seated regret. Carrying his book box, he made his way to Mr. Yao's study, transforming his previous habits to embrace early morning readings and late-night recitations, diligently practicing his writing. His fervor astonished even the ethereal Mr. Yao. Thus, 5 months passed, and as the year drew to a close, Wang Guangyu returned home from the private school, yet continued his studies without pause. Reading became akin to a celestial being's cultivation, and he proclaimed, "I rise at dawn to witness the morning glow and bask in the moonlight on cold nights that on the eve of the Lunar New Year." Wang Guangyu, as was his custom, cast aside his tomes and ventured into the streets with a bottle of Shifeng liquor that had been stored away for a year. Yet he found the atmosphere increasingly desolate. In the city, families had, through countless dawns, prayed for their young men to emerge from the heaps of the deceased at the border, and under countless sunsets, they had longed for their sons, husbands, and fathers to return under the moonlight. As the year drew to a close, not a soul returned to Shigu City. This day shattered the year-long hopes of the townsfolk. A woman penned a tragic farewell. "How many times has the rain urged the flowers? I gaze longingly down the road for your return," before taking her life with a white silk ribbon, tears in her eyes. Wang Guangyu, witnessing this sorrowful scene, could not help but sigh deeply. The Li dynasty had long favored letters over arms, and thus the scholars of the city had not been conscripted for military service, indulging instead in revelry, their festivities, accompanied by the sound of drums and laughter. They even drunkenly exclaimed that the lowly should perish. Wang Guangyu passed through indifferently until he arrived at a modest yet impeccably clean tavern. Upon settling onto the long bench, he called for the server, only to be greeted not by the usual honest fellow, but by a quiet woman with reddened eyes. He ordered some spiced peanuts and a few side dishes, then poured himself a drink of Shifeng liquor, reminiscing about last year's same place, same date, same bottle, yet this time there was no old friend to share it with him. As he imbibed the Shifeng, he perceived a difference. The sharpness was diminished, replaced by a richer, fuller flavor, perhaps a testament to the passage of time or the tales of bygone friends. He gazed up at the moon, pondering whether it could illuminate the capital, and whether anyone there might be drinking alone, facing the northwest. He raised his cup toward the southeast. "Crane and I, why must we meet again?" Wang Guangyu swallowed the sharpness and turned to leave. The woman, perplexed by his sudden departure, only noted that he had left a few extra coins on the table. On the night of the New Year's Eve, Wang Guangyu returned home, clutching his pen and sword. Outside Shigu City, a small river suddenly swelled with turbulent waves, no longer flowing smoothly as it had before. Last year, he had encountered a butcher named Li, who was alone and still in the mountains on the eve of the new year, hunting birds and rabbits. That night, a sudden heavy snowfall caused him to lose his way. Had he not fortuitously stumbled upon a cave and kindled a fire, he might have perished in the icy depths of the mountains. Nevertheless, he escaped the snow-laden night that had claimed others for conscription. The next day, dragging his stiffened body into the city, he learned of the significant events that had transpired, and today, Wang Guangyu intended to learn the art of the sword from him. Perhaps fueled by the fiery spirit of the Shifeng liquor, Wang Guangyu spent the night burning manuscripts, declaring his intent to wield a sword and stand alone against the world. To his surprise, Wang Yi, who had never once reproached him, erupted in anger, striking and kicking him, banishing him from the household. "Return only when you no longer wish to practice your swordsmanship." This time, Wang Guangyu, as if unleashing the stubbornness he had harbored for 18 years, stood shivering in the biting wind and snow throughout the night. At dawn, the county magistrate's wife, feeling pity for him, pulled him into the residence. But he hastily retreated. It was not until Wang Yi, with a sullen face, called him back inside that he complied. Observing the young face, flushed from the cold, yet smiling at him, Wang Yi, perhaps softened by age, spoke firmly. "Mastering the art of wielding a knife is no simple endeavor. In my youth, I too aspired to wield my blade against the Xiongnu. Yet you find the pursuit of knowledge so arduous. How could one expect to master the knife? If you are genuinely ignited by the desire to train, then go to the butcher Li in the market and learn the craft of bone and meat for 2 months. Should you find it too challenging, return to your studies and prepare for the grand examination in 2 years." Li the butcher merely chuckled at this, his laughter devoid of warmth, before casting a sidelong glance at Wang Guangyu. "If you are merely seeking amusement at my expense, then I suggest you take your leave at once." Wang Guangyu laughed awkwardly. "Oh, I wouldn't dream of it." Li the butcher turned, presenting the carcass of a wild boar he had recently hunted, and continued, Remove every morsel of meat from this boar, ensuring no scraps cling to the bones. The fat and lean must remain distinct. Any unsightly presentation will hinder its sale. I shall work, and you shall learn. With that, Li grasped his boning knife as if it were an extension of his own arm, expertly maneuvering the blade between flesh and bone, swiftly separating them. He then employed a delicate, gossamer-thin knife to slice between the layers of fat and lean, causing them to part with a whisper. Wiping the blood from his knife, he remarked, were it not for the biting cold, the flesh would be less rigid, allowing for swifter work. Wang Guangyu, eager to try his hand, grasped the knife but found his hand trembling uncontrollably. Despite his desire to master the separation of flesh and bone, he struggled to even guide the tip of the blade with finesse. Observing his plight, Li shook his head, retrieving an imposing cleaver from an obscure black box behind him. Its weight formidable, he tossed it to Wang Guangyu, saying, "Hold this with both hands and stand guard at the shop while I venture outside the city to hunt for wild boars and rabbits." As night fell, Li returned to the city, burdened by the weight of a plump wild boar. He mused that the shop had likely been entrusted to a new assistant, and the young man, in his impulsive fervor to learn the art of butchery, should soon recognize the futility of his endeavor. Upon entering the shop, he found the young man standing, knife in hand. At the sight of the butcher, the youth managed a strained smile before collapsing, unconscious. Li approached, squeezing the young man's arm, only to discover it had grown as stiff as iron. With a mixture of astonishment and intrigue, Li hoisted the young man onto his back and made his way toward the Lord's manor. In the depths of his eyes, which had seen 2 decades without leaving the city, a ripple of emotion finally stirred. Chapter 1. The county young master's modest aspirations and the bloodshed of New Year's Eve. For years, the Chongping dynasty has been embroiled in relentless warfare with the Xiongnu. In recent times, the dynasty has waned, barely managing to fend off its foes thanks to the natural defenses of Liangzhou. At the juncture of Yongzhou and Liangzhou, the terrain is intricate and diverse, encompassing mountains, rivers, vast deserts, and expansive grasslands. The bustling populace, relying on rice and wheat, thrives in the Jin City County. Nestled in the northwestern corner of the dynasty's border, in this county resides a county magistrate named Wang, seemingly a scion of the prominent Wang family from Qingzhou. He has taken but one wife and does not indulge in a second consort. His household is modest yet sufficient, providing warmth and sustenance for his son and daughter, though not steeped in wealth or luxury. His eldest daughter possesses notable talents, particularly in the field of medicine. Leveraging her father's modest official standing, she was sent to study medical principles at the academy in Jianghu. Living up to expectations, she eventually established a well-regarded medical practice in the capital of Yongzhou, Tian. Wang, nearing 40, was blessed with a son in his later years. Naturally, this child was cherished beyond measure. Whether the young master's demeanor was shaped by this indulgence or by an innate gentle nature, he conducted himself and his affairs with unremarkable ordinariness. Endearingly dubbed Wang Sanping, he was of fair complexion, though a severe illness in his adolescence left him with numerous freckles. Despite consulting various renowned physicians and remedies within Liangzhou, it was only after his elder sister spent weeks devising a suitable prescription that his complexion was restored to a semblance of smoothness. Initially, Wang named his son Wang Guangyu, perhaps aspiring for him to achieve scholarly success and attain official rank. However, when the county magistrate's wife accompanied their son to register at the household registry, his name was altered to Wang Guangyu, possibly to shed the ostentatious connotations of pursuing wealth. The new name, meaning vast and boundless, was deemed more refined. Wang Yi, believing his son's lackluster performance was influenced by this name change, often found himself in spirited debates with his wife over the matter. In the county, there existed a school with a teacher named Yao Yuan, a man of considerable repute who often traveled to remote villages to impart knowledge. His modest tuition consisted of merely a handful of rice, facilitating education for the local youth. Consequently, he relocated from the city to the countryside. Wang Guangyu studied under this esteemed teacher, despite the county being home to various accomplished mentors who had previously nurtured successful scholars. It was peculiar that Wang Yi insisted on his son's education under this particular instructor, forbidding him from taking a carriage to the countryside. When young Guangyu inquired about this, his father responded, In a previous dynasty, a grand scholar achieved success while trudging through deep mountains and valleys, burdened with a satchel. Thus, the youth resided in the countryside, returning home only once a month. Today, this small county town bustled with excitement, for the young master was to partake in his comingafage ceremony. Wang Guanyu donned splendid attire, exuding a semblance of gentlemanly grace. His elder sister, Wang Nianqing, had journeyed from Yongzhou to present him with a finely crafted dagger named Fuguang. The rugged spirit of the Northwest is often characterized by valor, with its men predominantly embracing martial prowess, earning them the moniker savages from the Northwest among the people of Jiangnan and Central Plains. After the ceremony, Wang Yi introduced a burly man with a rugged visage to Wang Guanyu, exclaiming with hearty laughter, "The children of your father's colleagues excel in academia, yet I perceive that you are not cut from the same cloth. The name Wang Samping has already gained renown in Jin City. Why not, in the future, learn a few skills from this esteemed swordsman and strive to earn military accolades worthy of your father?" Wang Guanyu scrutinized the rugged-faced man, who bore a box on his back, his face adorned with stubble, clad in coarse linen garments. To his surprise, he recognized him as Li the Butcher, known for slaughtering pigs at the marketplace, a stark contrast to the legendary swordsman of the green robe spoken of in the rivers and lakes. Wang Guanyu chuckled heartily in response, saying, "If you can summon the world's finest with just a minor official title, then I shall surely become a person of influence in Jincheng County." Upon hearing this, the butcher remained silent. Wang Yi delivered a playful kick to Wang Guanyu's rear, admonishing, "Do not deceive yourself into thinking that wearing a cap makes you a true official. Since you are aware that our father cannot summon any renowned figures, you ought to learn from Mr. Yao and strive for academic success, bringing honor to our father. In the future, you might even boast to your peers about your children." Wang Guanyu, as was his custom, merely laughed it off. The following day, before dawn broke, Wang Guanyu set out once more towards Mr. Yao's private school. It was December, and the northwestern region had already been blanketed in snow. Wang Guanyu tightened his cotton coat, inwardly cursing when he would finally don a fur cloak and admire the snow from a pavilion on a serene lake, prompting him to quicken his pace. As daylight emerged, Wang Guanyu finally arrived at Mr. Yao's school. Mr. Yao, already a striking figure, stood resplendent in white attire against the backdrop of the snowy landscape, holding a scroll in one hand and resting the other behind his back. Embodying the essence of a reclusive sage, any ordinary woman encountering him would exclaim at the sight of such a handsome scholar, creating a stark contrast with Wang Guanyu's frostbitten visage. Having grown accustomed to Mr. Yao's ethereal demeanor, Wang Guanyu stepped inside, seeking a position near the fireplace, where he promptly dozed off. Before he could slip into dreams, Mr. Yao roused him with a book. Wang San, usually mild-mannered, was awakened. The other students erupted in laughter, while a solitary boy in the corner remained engrossed in his reading, unperturbed by the commotion. The days that followed mirrored that of today, flowing as steadily as a mountain stream, mundane yet unceasing. Amidst Wang Guanyu's yawns and snores, the new year approached, and the grand examination, held in higher regard by scholars than a beloved concubine, loomed ever closer. Wang San, who considered himself of modest ambition and talent, closed his eyes and murmured, "May Confucius bless me, may Confucius bless me." Though the examination was of great significance, one must confront the immediate realities, such as the approaching year's end. Strangely, Shigu County, under the jurisdiction of Jincheng County, bore no fortune or grandeur, yet had never known the ravages of war. The Jin City, bypassing the Hushi corridor, bordered the Xiongnu territory, where two dynasties had been at odds for decades, often contending for control over Hushi. Nevertheless, Shigu County, located in the southeastern part of Jincheng County, had remained untouched by the scourge of conflict. The layout of Shigu City resembled a bagua, and it was said that celestial beings guided its naming, as if the very essence of stability from the western regions had been bestowed upon it. Consequently, the county's populace, though robust, was not savage. Today, being the eve of the new year, the county town exuded a tranquil atmosphere. Children, clad in freshly sewn tiger head cotton jackets, darted about with firecrackers and colorful candies. Even families facing hardship received gifts of freshly purchased pork from their neighbors, along with some well-preserved garments. The county magistrate's household mirrored this festive spirit. Wang Guanyu had already returned home, feigning to read a few pages of a book before venturing out for a leisurely stroll. Observing the harmonious scene around him, he couldn't help but smile wryly. The essence of human existence, rich in warmth and vitality, undeniably soothes the heart of the common M.S. This young master, with his hands clasped behind his back, cited classical references and fancied himself remarkably handsome enough to catch the attention of passing ladies. A cold snort shattered Wang Guanyu's reverie. It was none other than he, the younger son of the prominent He family in the county, who, with no pressing matters at home, wandered the streets like this young master. He, endowed with exceptional talent from a young age, particularly excelled in mathematics and the sciences, and his reputation had spread to the regions of Jinsheng and Liangzhou, much like that of Wang Samping. The two had forged a friendship in their youth, often climbing trees to retrieve bird nests or wading into the water to catch fish. However, their paths diverged significantly after their comingafage ceremony. Despite this, their bond remained unscathed. After meandering for a while, they began to feel a slight hunger and sought out a small stall for 2 bowls of beef noodles. The influx of immigrants to Jinsheng had introduced a variety of flavors, and this beef noodle dish, characterized by its vibrant red, pure white, verdant green, and rich broth, represented the culinary delights from the northeast, central plains, and Jiangnan regions, rendering it extraordinarily delectable. Yet, even after finishing their meal, they felt it was not enough. Eager to embrace the customs of the Northwest, they asked the stall owner to slice 3 jin of marinated meat and ordered a jar of Shifeng wine. This was their first experience with alcohol, and while the Shifeng from the Northwest was said to be fragrant, elegant, and delightfully smooth, its taste proved to be overwhelmingly spicy once it touched their lips. Their initial attempt at sophisticated drinking and poetry ended in disarray. As dusk approached, they exchanged pleasantries, bidding each other, "Let us return to our respective homes and mothers," before parting ways. Carrying the jar of Shifeng, Wang Guanyu returned home to find his mother had prepared dumplings, ready to be boiled. With an unabashed grin, he offered to help, but was shooed away by his mother. On New Year's Eve, the reunion dinner was heartwarming. Wang Yi, too, allowed his son to partake in drinking for the first time, laughing as he remarked, "A man from the Northwest who cannot ride, shoot, or drink will be ridiculed. You have come of age, it is time to drink heartily." As the night deepened, the county was alive with fireworks and the sound of firecrackers. Wang Guanyu exclaimed, "With sufficient rain and snow this year, the coming year will surely be a bountiful one." In the midst of this festive atmosphere, a constable rushed in with alarming news. Someone had entered the city in bloodied garments, dragging a weapon. Upon hearing this, Wang Yi's expression shifted dramatically. He hastily mounted his horse, disregarding the need to change into official attire. By the time Wang Yi returned, he was accompanied by dozens of ironclad soldiers. A burly man who appeared to be their leader spoke gravely. "The Xiongnu have suddenly ignited hostilities. The front lines were unprepared, and within days, both Suzhou and Ganzhou have fallen. We have come to conscript soldiers." Wang Yi inquired. "In recent years, families in Liangzhou have donned mourning clothes, and the court has dispatched troops from Qingzhou and Yizhou to combat the Xiongnu. Why the need for further conscription?" Upon hearing this, the burly man was overcome with emotion, tears streaming down his face as he choked out, "They are all dead, every last one of them. In Ganzhou and Suzhou, there were spies from the Xiongnu. Under the cover of night, they suddenly opened the city gates, launching a surprise attack. The Qingzhou troops scattered in terror. Many of our brothers, drunk and celebrating the new year, lost their heads in the chaos. I led these brothers through the encirclement to reach Jinsheng. If it were not for this dire situation, I would not be here to force enlistment." Before he could finish speaking, a sword severed his head. A young man clad in blue robes and silver armor approached, exuding arrogance. "Preposterous! The Wang family of Qingzhou is the foremost clan of the current dynasty. When did we ever scatter and flee? We are merely conserving our strength and avoiding confrontation. Moreover, why should we sacrifice ourselves for you Western barbarians?" The young man wiped the blood from his sword using the fallen man's garments, spitting disdainfully before slowly advancing towards Wang. Suddenly recalling, "You, Wang Yi, are indeed a remarkable talent from the Wang family of Qingzhou, yet, having chosen the wrong side, a waste is still a waste, no amount of innate ability can compensate for that. Your current plight is of your own making, is it not? I am here to conscript soldiers from your county. Do you dare to obstruct me? Wang Yi's countenance turned ashen, as did the expressions of the dozens of iron cavalry behind him. In the northwest, military discipline is stringent. Both civil and military officials wield significant authority, let alone a mere command from someone as lowly as Wang Yi. Reluctantly, Wang Yi stepped aside, allowing the cavalry to scour the city for recruits. Hearing the commotion outside his residence, Wang Guanyu came with a lantern to investigate, only to be struck with terror upon discovering a headless corpse, collapsing to the ground in fright. The young man in a silver-embroidered blue robe exhibited a pronounced disdain in his eyes as he turned his horse and departed on New Year's Eve. A sudden heavy snowfall blanketed the city, prompting able-bodied men to venture out amidst the incessant wails of women and children. The white snow weighed heavily on the red lanterns, draping the entire city in mourning. Wang Yi, in the city lord's mansion, wept bitterly, crying out 3 times to the heavens, lamenting his misfortune. Chapter 2. The List Unnamed. The city enshrouded in sorrow, scholars frantically wielding pen and sword. The prominent He family has dwindled in numbers. Half were conscripted during the new year, and many women, burdened by thoughts of their husbands, have succumbed to lingering illnesses. The entire clan rallied to protect He and one other on the day following the new year. The He family was enveloped in wailing. It remained unclear whether the young master of the He family was weeping, only that his face was buried in the snow. Following that day, He changed his name to He Feng One, his demeanor shifting to one of somber cunning. Despite Mr. Yao's numerous attempts at persuasion, he remained unyielding, and his interactions with Wang Guanyu became increasingly rare. Time passed, and the day of the June examinations arrived. He Feng One, possessing exceptional literary talent since childhood, had spent decades under Mr. Yao's tutelage. Without a doubt, he effortlessly secured the title of the top scholar of Jincheng County, with high-ranking officials personally visiting to meet him in Zigacheng. To everyone's astonishment, the literary ambition of Mr. Yao's students was not monopolized by He Fengwen alone. Wu Haomong, the eldest daughter of another prominent family in the city, also attained the second place. This small city, which had languished in sorrow for 6 long months, finally regained a semblance of vitality. Nevertheless, the world is rife with disappointments, and for every joyous occasion, there are numerous sorrows. Not all matters unfold as splendidly as one might hope. Such was the case for Wang Guanyu. As Mr. Yao had predicted, Wang Guanyu, naturally, fell short of expectations. The townsfolk buzzed with chatter. Wang Yi's parents were both scholars, and regardless of Wang Yi's situation, Wang Guanyu's mother, Liao Qian, was once celebrated for her poetry and songs, but her reputation faded as she devoted herself to raising her sons for Wang Guanyu. The epicenter of this turmoil, he remained largely unaffected. Having grown up with the moniker of Samping, he had become accustomed to such occurrences. What astonished him, however, was how the ordinarily unremarkable Wu Haomong had managed to claim the second place. Wu Haomong possessed a gentle disposition during disputes. She would blush at the mere utterance of fool. Yet for Wang Guanyu, the memories of their childhood together, where she would chase him around with a mop, and he would dismiss her with indifference, seemed an undeniable truth. With her barbs of mockery frequent in their exchanges, Wang Guanyu, suffering from a headache, found himself in this predicament. Having failed the crucial examination this year, he attributed it merely to ill fortune, securing the last position on the list. He mused that he could simply wait 3 years to attempt it again. Wang Yi shared a similar sentiment, yet the thought of the charming yet mischievous woman of the Wu clan plagued his mind, exacerbating his headache. Wang Guanyu contemplated, at worst, I shall avoid her when she departs the city for Xianyuan Academy in 3 days. Alas, my son he will suffer from our separation. He will surely be heartbroken upon realizing that his father has left the city. Perhaps I should visit him now. With this thought, Wang Guanyu grasped a cool blade and made his way to the He family estate. After knocking, he, who had not been seen for 6 months, finally opened the door. Wang Guanyu observed the pale, brooding scholar, whose demeanor had shifted from carefree to grave, and silently offered his congratulations. In 3 days, you will depart for the capital to take up your official duties. The desolate northwest awaits you, and you shall finally escape this place of strife. Before your journey, I requested a master craftsman from Jinshan County to forge this blade for you. The IT remains unnamed, but carry it for protection against the treacherous mountains and rivers ahead. Do not think I curse you, may you encounter neither bandits nor robbers, but rather cherish the memory of this gift. He accepted the blade, his expression unchanging. I shall accept this gift. Since it is unnamed, let us call it Nianliang. With a sorrowful countenance, Wang Guangyu turned to leave. Another one gone. Who will I discuss the beauty of young ladies with now? His lips finally curled into a smile as he shouted, "Curse you!" 3 days later, outside Shigu City, the He and Wu families set out early on their journey to the capital. The midsummer heat seemed to carry an autumnal melancholy, rendering the once vibrant town silent once more. Wang Guangyu chose not to see them off at the city gate instead. He locked himself away, resting beside a letter that lay on his bedside. The script was fresh and elegant, yet the content starkly contrasted with it. It bore the 4 characters: Jianong Fandai, a mere drunkard and glutton. Wang Guangyu, exhausted from trying to evade the barbs of the Wu woman, could not escape her taunts and let out a bitter laugh. This woman is too difficult to deal with, and she possesses such beauty, a true waste of talent. Good riddance, perhaps I shall find some peace. The usually boisterous Wang Guangyu now sought tranquility, sighing repeatedly, good riddance, good riddance, good riddance. As old acquaintances departed one after another, the city felt more like an empty shell. Thoughts of He and Wu Haomong, along with the myriad of faces that had left this city, filled Wang Guangyu's mind. Stepping outside, he found the sun shining brightly, yet he felt a chill akin to early spring or late autumn. The sky was clear, and the birds sang joyfully, yet he raised his hand to shield his face, muttering, "The sandstorms of the northwest are truly fierce." After a month of reflection, Wang Guangyu resolved to resume his studies. His own failure weighed heavily on him, yet the success of his friends gnawed at his heart. He carried a book box to Mr. Yao's classroom. Determined to change his ways, he immersed himself in morning readings and evening recitations, diligently penning essays, all while the ethereal Mr. Yao marveled at his newfound dedication. Thus, 5 months passed, and as the year drew to a close, Wang Guangyu returned home from the private academy, still engrossed in his studies. Reading became a pursuit akin to a celestial being's cultivation. He declared, "I rise with the dawn to witness the rosy sky, and at night I bathe in the moonlight on the eve of." The Lunar New Year, as was his custom, Wang Guangyu cast aside his tomes and ventured into the streets, clutching the sheafing liquor he had preserved for a year. Yet, an unsettling chill pervaded the atmosphere. In the city, families had fervently prayed each morning for their young men to emerge from the ghastly piles of the fallen at the borders, and they had eagerly awaited the return of their sons, husbands, and fathers under the waning light of countless sunsets. Yet, as the year drew to a close, not a single soul returned to the city from beyond the walls of Shigu. On this day, the hopes of the townsfolk were shattered. A woman, in despair, penned her last words. "What time shall the rain urge the blossoms, when the path of return is lost?" With tears in her eyes, she took her life with a silk ribbon. Wang Guangyu, upon witnessing this tragic scene, could not help but sigh. The Li dynasty had long favored the arts over martial prowess, leaving the scholars in the city unconscripted, indulging in revelries accompanied by the clamor of gongs and drums. Some, in their inebriation, even cried out for the death of the lowly commoners. Wang Guangyu passed by indifferently until he arrived at a modest tavern. As he settled onto the impeccably clean bench, he called for the usual servant, but instead he was greeted by a quiet woman with reddened eyes. He ordered some spiced peanuts and a few side dishes, then poured himself a drink from the jar of sheafing, reminiscent of past years, yet this time devoid of the company of an old friend. As he consumed the liquor, he found it less pungent than the previous year when he shared it with another, now replaced by a richer, deeper flavor, perhaps a testament to the passage of time or the tales of bygone companions. Gazing at the moon, he pondered whether it illuminated the capital, and if someone there was drinking alone, facing the northwest. He lifted his cup towards the southeast. "Harmony, why must we brothers meet again?" Wang Guangyu swallowed the bitterness and turned away. The woman, perplexed by his abrupt departure, only noted that a few extra coins had been left on the table. On the night of the Lunar New Year, Wang Guangyu returned home, his pen in one hand and a sword in the other. Outside the walls of Shigu, the small river surged unexpectedly, tumultuous and chaotic, a stark contrast to its usual tranquility. Last year, he had encountered the butcher Li, who was alone, still hunting birds and rabbits in the mountains on the eve of the new year. The sudden snowstorm had disoriented him, and had it not been for a cave he fortuitously found, where he kindled a fire, he might have perished in the frigid wilderness. Ironically, this misfortune spared him from being conscripted that snowy night. The following day, he entered the city, stiff and weary, only to learn of a significant event that had transpired, and today, Wang Guangyu sought to learn the art of the sword from him. Perhaps fueled by the fiery spirit of the Shifeng liquor, Wang Guangyu, in the dead of night, had set about burning books and clamoring to wield a sword and stand independently against the world. His elder brother Wang Yi, who had never reproached him in all their years, erupted in fury, striking and kicking him, ordering him from the house. Return only when you wish to practice the sword. In an unusual display of defiance, Wang Guangyu stood shivering in the biting wind and snow throughout the night. As dawn approached, the county magistrate's wife, moved by compassion, pulled him into the residence. Yet he hastily retreated until Wang Yi, with a grim countenance, called him back inside. Seeing the young face, flushed from the cold, break into a sheepish smile, Wang Yi, perhaps softened by age, adopted a stern tone. Mastering the blade is far from a trivial pursuit. In my youth, I too aspired to wield my sword against the Xiongnu. Yet if you find the pursuit of knowledge arduous, how can you expect to excel in the art of swordsmanship? If your heart is set on this path, then seek out the butcher Li at the marketplace and learn the craft of butchery for 2 months. Should you find it too challenging, return to your studies and prepare for the grand examination in 2 years. Upon hearing this, the butcher Li merely chuckled, his laughter devoid of genuine mirth, and cast a sidelong glance at Wang Guangyu. If you are merely here to amuse yourself, you would do well to take your leave. Wang Guangyu offered an awkward smile. I wouldn't dream of it. The butcher then handed him the carcass of a wild boar he had recently dispatched, saying slowly, "Remove all the meat from this boar, ensuring not a trace of flesh remains on the bones. The fat and lean must not intermingle, for any blemish on its appearance will diminish its marketability. I shall work while you learn." With deft precision, the butcher wielded his boning knife as if it were an extension of his very being, expertly separating flesh from bone. In a matter of moments, the meat lay apart, while he employed a delicate knife, as thin as a cicada's wing, to sever the connecting tendons, allowing the fat and lean to part with quiet grace. Wiping the blood from his blade with a cloth, he remarked, were it not for the bitter cold, the flesh would be less rigid and the task could be completed even faster. Wang Guangyu, eager to try, found his hands trembling as he grasped the knife. Regardless of the effort, mastering the technique of probing the flesh was an elusive goal. The butcher, observing his struggle, shook his head and retrieved an imposing cleaver from an unmarked black box behind him, hefting it with a single hand before tossing it to Wang. Guangyu, hold this cleaver with both hands and stand watch over the shop. In these days of melting snow, I shall venture outside the city to hunt wild boars and rabbits. With that, the butcher turned and departed. As night fell, the butcher returned to the city, burdened with a plump wild boar, contemplating that the shop was now under the watch of a new servant. The young man, who had been so impetuous in his desire to learn the blade, would surely recognize the futility of his ambition. Upon entering the shop, he found the young man standing with both hands upon a knife. Upon seeing the butcher, the youth managed a few strained smiles before fainting. The butcher approached, pinching the young man's arm, only to discover it had grown as stiff as iron. Astonished, the butcher carried the unconscious youth toward the lord's manor, a flicker of intrigue stirring within the depths of his otherwise hollow gaze, which had remained unchanged for 2 decades since he first entered the city. Chapter 3, Mid-March, leaving the city to hunt rabbits in pursuit of physical training at the wooden stakes in the southern mountains. Wang Guangyu has been honing his knife skills in bone carving and meat cutting for over 2 months. To everyone's astonishment, he has remarkably persevered. Wang Yi, witnessing this, chose not to comment further, tacitly allowing his practice. Initially, Mr. Yu believed Wang Guangyu, being young, was prone to whims and had become complacent after showing some progress in his studies. However, he later found himself impressed by Wang Guangyu's tenacity and character in his knife training. Mr. Yu suggested that alongside his practice, Wang Guangyu should read and transcribe an article daily, whether it be insights on mental cultivation, military strategy, or even amusing anecdotes. During these 2 months, Mr. Yao frequently met with Wang Yi, and no one knew the content of their discussions, except that the last time Mr. Yao exited the government office, he did so with a smile, proclaiming, "Fate cannot be defied." In the early morning, most townsfolk were accustomed to attending the early market. At the marketplace, a crowd gathered around a butcher's shop, where a young man rolled up his sleeves, wielding a bone-cutting knife with finesse. He expertly separated layers of wild boar meat from the bones, prompting cheers from the onlookers. This display of skill belonged to none other than Wang Guanyu. Over the past 2 months, he had become as steady as a rock with the butcher's knife, showing remarkable progress in his bone carving and meat-cutting skills. The speed of his improvement left Li the butcher often questioning whether Wang Guanyu possessed innate talent, as his rapid advancement seemed to surpass even Li's own youthful days. As the early market hours passed and the crowd dispersed, Li the butcher observed the pleased Wang Guanyu and slowly remarked, "Our stock of meat is running low today. You shall accompany me to hunt." There is no need to mention Wang Yi. He trusts me completely. In Jianghu County, the spring breeze had yet to reach. And even with half of March gone, remnants of snow still lingered outside Shiyu City. Li the butcher studied the tracks left in the snow to determine the type and movements of potential prey. Wang Guanyu followed closely behind, attentively observing. Suddenly, Li the butcher crouched and moved stealthily before leaping forward, his fingers curling like claws, and with a swift motion, he snatched a white rabbit from the snow. Holding the rabbit by its ears, regardless of its frantic struggles, he struck its head against a nearby stone, rendering it unconscious. He then retrieved a small fish-slicing knife from his black box and swiftly cut the rabbit's throat. The rabbit succumbed to death in its stupor and was tossed into the basket strapped to Wang Guangyu's back. Li the butcher wiped the blood from his knife. Adhering to the principle that a hunter and warrior must take life without cruelty, Wang Guangyu stood in astonishment. He had barely registered the rabbit's presence in the snow before his burden grew heavier. The white rabbit, rolling in the snow, was indeed difficult to distinguish. Before long, Li the butcher repeated his actions, capturing several more snow rabbits and mountain chickens with a fluidity that left Wang Guangyu questioning whether this butcher truly was the unparalleled swordsman Wang Yi had spoken of. Gazing at the black box on Li's back, Wang Guangyu felt an increasing sense of kinship, convinced that with 2 or 3 years of training under this butcher, he could don a blue robe, wield a sword, and vanquish evil serpents. As Li the butcher observed Wang Guanyu standing foolishly in the snow, he scolded, "Child, do not indulge in idle fantasies. What courtesan could you possibly think of in this snow? Today's harvest has been decent, and spending this time is not a loss. Your basket is not yet full. The forthcoming yield depends on you. You must not return to the city with an empty basket. If need be, I shall accompany you." Interrupted from his reverie, the youthful Wang Guangyu set down his basket and began to tiptoe through the snow. Despite his keen gaze, he only spotted a few wild rabbits and pheasants. From a distance, Li the butcher threw a stone near Wang Guangyu, startling a snow-white rabbit into a frantic escape. Upon seeing this, Wang Guangyu hurriedly pursued, leaving several deep imprints in the snow. The snowflakes danced beneath his feet, yet the rabbit vanished without a trace. Laughing, he muttered a few expressions of surprise, but despite repeated attempts, he remained perplexed. Wang Guanyu felt that while pursuing speed often startled his quarry, crouching low for a stealthy approach rendered him sluggish. He cast a bewildered glance at Li the butcher, who shook his head and called him over, saying, "You are quite dim-witted, my boy. Let us call it a day. Though you may return to the city today, you will inevitably endure some hardships. Come with me to the southern mountain to gather some rotten logs for firewood, but you must carry them back to the city. I, an old man, am unable to bear such heavy burdens." Having spoken, Li the butcher turned and walked away, effortlessly hoisting a tall black box with one hand. Wang Guanyu thought to himself, "How shameless. That box contains a towering butcher's knife, and who knows how many smaller knives besides. What old man can lift such a weight single-handedly?" Despite these unkind thoughts, he wore a foolish grin as he followed the butcher. Li turned back and said, "Child, I can see what you are thinking. After living to this age, my old eyes can certainly perceive a few things." Wang Guangyu gave an awkward smile, hastening to keep up with the butcher, who walked with his back turned, a subtle smile playing at the corners of his mouth. Upon reaching the southern mountain, Wang Guangyu gazed at the rotting stumps, which could be embraced by a grown man. Muttering, as Li the butcher said, "They are indeed heavy." He shouldered his basket, wrapped one stump in his arms while securing another with a rope around his waist, struggling to make his way back to the city. Meanwhile, Li the butcher was leisurely foraging for licorice roots beneath the snow, murmuring, spring has arrived. By nightfall, Wang Guangyu returned to the butcher shop, dragging 2 stumps behind him. After 2 months of practicing with the knife, he managed to avoid fainting this time. After bidding farewell to Li the butcher, he trudged home, his body feeling as though it were cast in lead. Once in bed, he transcribed a short piece from a sage before falling into a deep slumber. In a haze, he could hear Liao Qian lamenting about how overly strictly Mabai was and the boisterous laughter of Wang Yi. As the rabbit hunting and wood hauling continued until May, Wang Guangyu felt as light as a swallow, his energy surging like a torrent. Chapter 4. The Death of the White-Clad and the Chilling Spring. Drawing the blade to affirm intentions at Kongtong Mountain. As May arrives, the Taoist temple on Kongtong Mountain welcomes a multitude of pilgrims. For those in the northwestern region, it is customary for most seekers of fortune and divination to embark on their journey to Kongtong at this time, hoping to invoke blessings and divine protection. Wang Guangyu, however, was initially skeptical of these Taoist practices, dismissing them in his youth as mere nonsense and heretical teachings. Yet 2 years prior, Wu Haomong, the eldest daughter of the Wu family, journeyed to the mountain in May to consult an elder Taoist, returning with a fortune that she would not disclose, but which she boasted would ensure her admission to the prestigious Jianghu Academy the following year. Wang Guangyu paid little heed until the day of the results, when he was taken aback to see Wu Haomong's name prominently among the top candidates. This prompted him to regard the old Taoist on Kongtong Mountain with newfound curiosity and a desire to witness the man's reputed wisdom. Today, Wang Guangyu busied himself packing his belongings, securing the cool blade gifted by his elder sister to his waist. He carefully tucked a well-preserved letter from his desk into his bosom, along with some essential items, preparing to bid farewell to his parents and his surrogate mentor. The butcher Li, Wang Yiliao, and Qian had long been aware of his plans and expressed little surprise, merely advising him to return home promptly before allowing him to depart. As Wang Guangyu made his way towards the city gate, he encountered 2 figures. One was a man named Li, burdened by a large black box and a bundle at his feet. It was indeed the butcher Li, who called out to Wang Guangyu, expressing his intention to visit Kongtong Mountain to burn incense and rid himself of the malevolent aura accumulated from his trade. He suggested they travel together. Having grown accustomed to the butcher's antics over the past few months, Wang Guangyu resignedly hoisted the man's bundle onto his shoulder. The other figure at the gate merely smiled at the scene. It was Mr. Yao, draped in white robes. Wang Guangyu had long been chastised by Mr. Yao since childhood and stood rigidly at attention upon seeing the dignified man. Mr. Yao remarked that this journey would be quite beneficial and urged Wang Guangyu to accompany the old butcher, reminding him not to neglect his daily writings, knowing well that he had likely not brought any writing materials. With that, Mr. Yao produced a writing box from behind him and handed it to Wang Guangyu, assuring him that it contained ink, paper, and brushes sufficient for a month's use. The journey to and from Kongtong Mountain would take no more than a month, and upon his return, Mr. Yao expected to review his writings. Overwhelmed, Wang Guangyu felt like weeping but accepted the box, recognizing Mr. Yao's stern demeanor. At that moment, 2 ordinary horses were brought forth by the constables from the county office. Wang Guangyu and the butcher mounted their horses, waving a farewell to Mr. Yao as they set off towards the southeast. Mr. Yao watched the young man's gradually widening back, feeling increasingly gratified and joyful with each passing moment. That night, as Wang Guangyu departed, news of his journey spread swiftly outside the city. The Xiongnu army has already breached the 4 commanderies of Heshi, and General Qin Jian of the Northwest Army has perished. The Xiongnu are poised to advance southeast. In response, Wang Yi has issued orders for the citizens of Jincheng Commandery to evacuate. Once the populace has found refuge in Tianshui County of Yongzhou, Wang Yi intends to return to Qizhou with his family and reclaim his ancestral roots. Hearing this, many young men in the city eagerly volunteered to face death in defiance of the Xiongnu forces. After repeated persuasion from Wang Yi and local officials, the majority of the citizens finally consented to migrate to Yangzhou. However, midway through their journey, they discovered that the county magistrate had not accompanied them. Meanwhile, in the now desolate city of Shigu, 2 figures sat across from one another, indulging in wine, Wang Yi and Mr. Yao. Wang Yi sipped on a glass of Shifeng wine, reflecting on how his once fiery temperament had mellowed since assuming the role of county magistrate. He recalled the countless troubles his son, Wang Guangyu, had caused, yet he had never found it in himself to chastise him. Mr. Yao, upon hearing this, took a sip of his own wine and smiled faintly. Wang Yi continued, reminiscing about their youthful days when they had strategized on how to annihilate the Xiongnu, lamenting the absence of the thousands of brothers who once stood behind them. He questioned whether Mr. Yu still possessed his prophetic abilities at this advanced age. Mr. Yao chuckled and remarked that regardless of his own condition, Wang Yi was not the robust warrior he once was, and he wondered whether he could withstand the onslaught of the Xiongnu cavalry. A glint of fierce determination flickered in Wang Yi's eyes. Even if I cannot win, I shall fight. I have never feared anything in my life. It is a pity that my wife must endure a life of widowhood. Liao Qian did not wish to leave, so I had to knock her unconscious and force her onto the cart bound for Qingzhou. Since our marriage, this is the first time I have struck her. Wang Yi slowly rose and rummaged through the abandoned storeroom of the Lord's mansion, unearthing an old box containing a suit of armor and a cold blade, both remarkably intact despite their age. That night, under a starry sky, two figures stood atop the city walls, one clad in armor wielding a sword, the other draped in white as pure as snow. 3 days later, thousands of black-armored soldiers besieged Jianghu. Spotting the two figures atop the walls, a middle-aged man in armor raised his sword defiantly and challenged, "Do the barbarian troops wish to test the edge of my blade?" The two leaped from the walls, and the armored man swung his sword downward, unleashing a torrent of blade energy that shattered dozens of black-armored foes in an instant. With each step he took, the blade energy surged forth, until on the 9th step, the blade gleamed like a comet racing towards the moon. He roared with laughter, declaring, "I have yet to slay enough. Brothers below, I, old Wang, have come to fight alongside you today." The air was thick with the sound of clashing blades, as the blade energy swept through the city, claiming the lives of countless black-armored soldiers. After a prolonged battle, the now middle-aged swordsman finally succumbed to exhaustion, collapsing and closing his eyes to await death. At that moment, a figure clad in white floated gracefully to his side. "Words alone lack the courage to sway the heavens and earth," he intoned. In an instant, the sky darkened, and a somber gloom enveloped the land. Thunder and snowstorm converged. The winds howled, and a tumultuous purple lightning surged forth. The white-clad figure waved his sleeves, and dozens of black-armored soldiers fell lifeless to the ground. Suddenly, a troop of soldiers charged toward Jianghu, led by the proud warrior from the eve of the new year, now clothed in blood-stained garments and silver armor marred by cracks, wielding a spear that left no blood in its wake. Mr. Yao, witnessing this, hurled the unconscious man before him towards the arrogant warrior. The arrogant man caught Wang Yi with one hand, offering a distant bow to Mr. Yu, and thereafter ceased to speak, leading his troops towards the southeastern region of Qizhou. Mr. Yao, who had forcibly elevated his cultivation at the cost of his very soul, was now clad in red, having exhausted himself after these events. Facing the thousands of black-armored foes before him, he summoned the last vestiges of his strength, and amidst the gloomy clouds, a bolt of heavenly thunder coalesced, crashing towards the peaks of the northern mountains. An avalanche thundered down from the summit, overwhelming the golden city below. The black-armored Huns, undaunted by death, turned to flee, buying time for their comrades by erecting a shield of tower-like defenses behind them. Mr. Yu gazed unflinchingly at the cascading avalanche, and suddenly, a fierce light sparkled in his eyes as he turned southeast, his voice resounding like a great bell. "Wang Yu, the path lies before you. Move forward." The heavy snow engulfed Jianghu city like a great python devouring a mouse, yet the local academy remained pristine, untouched by the chaos. Mr. Yao stood atop the highest point of the city, clutching a jade pendant with a green ribbon in his hand, resolute in his stance, unwavering even in death. In Yangzhou, during the month of May, an unexpected snowfall descended. The head of the Jianghu Academy, donned in green, exited the city, holding a white ribbon pendant, gazing at the surging waters of the Yangtze River, and softly murmured, "Another bout of late spring chill." Mount Kantong, situated in the southeastern part of Liangzhou, boasts a climate as humid as the southern regions, despite its location in the northwest. It is flanked by the Lupin Mountains to the west, with a sweeping view of the plains of Yangzhou to the east, guarded by the Guanshan Mountains to the south and the Shabuan to the north. Alongside Wudong, it is revered as one of the renowned Daoist mountains of the realm. Legends speak of ethereal music floating through the air, nurtured by the vital energies of the world, while yellow cranes soar above and dragons dwell in the depths of tranquil pools. Mount Kantong is home to numerous peaks, and historically, it has been adorned with a plethora of structures, including 8 platforms, 9 palaces, 12 courtyards, and 72 stone caves. 3,000 years prior, the Yellow Emperor sought wisdom from the immortal Guangchengzi, who ascended to the heavens, ensuring the enduring prosperity of Kantong in the northwest. Today, Wang Guangyu arrived at this celestial mountain, while the Butcher Li vanished upon entering its domain, a fate that Wang Guangyu paid little heed, as May brought an unexpected storm. Wang Guangyu intended to witness the breathtaking floral expanse at the foot of Mount Kongtong, renowned for its beauty surpassing the willows of Linen. Unfortunately, the storm had ravaged half of the blooms, reducing them to ruin and leaving other visitors lamenting their missed opportunity to witness the splendor. Wang Guangyu, gazing up at the majestic mountain, noted the contrast between the wilting flowers below and the vibrant blossoms above, which flourished in riotous color. He could not help but exclaim in wonder. At that moment, a resounding celestial voice echoed through the mountain, proclaiming, "The time has come. The mountain opens to welcome guests." The mountain gates slowly parted, and pilgrims ascended the steps. Midway, they beheld cranes soaring around the mountain, further enhancing the majestic ambience of Kongtong. Wang Guangyu was profoundly moved. And upon reaching the summit, he witnessed the sun rising slowly from the sea of clouds, with the 72 stone caves radiating a magnificent purple aura, filling his heart with an expansive spirit. As I climbed the mountain and beheld the rivers, the vast energy flowed into my being. Just as Wang Guangyu expressed his heartfelt admiration, he noticed a thick plume of smoke rising from a bamboo grove halfway up the mountain and descended to investigate. In the depths of the forest, a young Taoist monk stealthily slipped out of the temple at dawn, clutching a leftover bun from the previous day. He had taken to the peculiar trade of ensnaring birds, and at that moment, he was tending to a fire to roast sparrows. The young monk calculated with his fingers, muttering anxiously to himself, "Oh no, oh no," as he hastily grabbed his tattered robe to fan the flames. Suddenly, he noticed a disturbance in the bamboo grove behind him, and a stern-faced, middle-aged Taoist monk soared toward him. Realizing it was too late to flee, the young monk found himself swiftly overtaken. With a wave of his sleeve, the middle-aged monk conjured a gust of wind that extinguished the flames and knocked the young monk down. Wang Guangyu, who had just descended halfway down the slope, was met with this comical scene. As the middle-aged monk lifted the young monk, preparing to strike, he caught sight of Wang Guangyu and reluctantly lowered his hand, offering a respectful bow. "Forgive me, sir, for my little disciple's mischievous behavior." Wang Guangyu, raising his hands in a gesture of indifference, signaled that it was of no consequence. The middle-aged monk hoisted the young monk and flew toward the peak, prompting Wang Guangyu to follow suit. The mountain of Kongtong was bustling with pilgrims, particularly at the querying Dao Palace, where many hopeful young women sought romantic fortunes and scholars yearned for academic success. Travelers and merchants facing misfortune also came seeking guidance. Observing this, Wang Guangyu decided to inquire about his own romantic prospects and joined the long queue for divination by the esteemed practitioners of the mountain. The Taoist monks greeted each seeker with smiles, offering answers and guidance. After a lengthy wait, Wang Guangyu finally stood before one of the monks, only to witness a subtle change in the monk's serene expression. He was instructed to return to the end of the line. Frustration welled up within Wang Guangyu. Yet he complied with the monk's directive. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting golden rays upon Kongtong Mountain, it resembled a gilded sanctuary upon the northwestern lands. Wang Guangyu endured his wait, and as the last of the pilgrims descended the mountain, the monk paid him no heed, merely instructing him to remain in place. After a time, an elderly white-haired Taoist approached, casting a glance at Wang Guangyu and murmuring, "What is destined to come will never be late." The old monk sighed mournfully toward the northwest, lamenting the passing of yet another literary saint, remarking that only the figure of the white-clad Yao Yuan could bear the title in that region. Turning his gaze back to Wang Guangyu, he hesitated, unsure how to address the youthful visage before him. The esteemed Mr. Yao of Jinsheng County has likely perished in the snowstorm. Upon hearing this, Wang Guangyu was instantly consumed by rage. The insolent monk had already provoked his ire by relegating him to the back of the line. Now, this old Taoist audaciously proclaimed the death of his beloved mentor, who had guided him since childhood. "You, old Taoist with your pompous airs, have the gall to deceive others with your divination, and now you dare to curse my master's death. I shall not remain in this wretched place." The elderly Taoist, having anticipated such a reaction, maintained a nonchalant demeanor. That white-clad literary saint is not a subject for idle speculation. Such grave karma, once incurred, will not end well. I speak only the truth. Suddenly, a figure cloaked in black swept past Wang Guangyu, approaching the central platform to inquire about the palace. It was none other than the butcher, Li. Wang Guangyu felt as though he had grasped a lifeline and embraced Li, exclaiming, "Master, this old Taoist insists that Mr. Yao has perished. Let us unleash your martial prowess upon him with fervor and return home under the cover of night." Li, with a calm demeanor, replied, "A few days ago, I sensed an unusual chill in the air as May brought forth unexpected snow. Today, gazing towards the direction of Shigu City, I felt the atmospheric energy was amiss. I departed early this morning to return to the city, only to find it submerged in heavy snow, with only traces of the Xiongnu in their dark armor remaining. Yao Yuan stood resolute upon the city walls, unyielding even in death. After interring him, I hastened my journey here. Wang Guangyu's pupils constricted, and he stumbled to the ground. Upon rising, tears streamed down his face. He drew his blade, pointing it towards the north, and howled to the heavens. I shall not return until the Xiongnu are vanquished. The Taoist on the mountain seemed to possess some knowledge of divination. Whether it was the golden rays of the setting sun obscuring the sky, or the cold blade's brilliance blinding the eye, it remained uncertain. Behind Wang Guangyu, the aura shifted from a vibrant green to a majestic yellow and purple, soaring towards the heavens and pointing resolutely northward. Chapter 5. Practicing swordsmanship on Kongtong Mountain. On the serene heights of Kongtong Mountain, the kind-hearted Taoist priests took pity on Wang Guangyu, who had suffered the devastation of his homeland at the hands of the Xiongnu cavalry. They welcomed him into their midst. Since that fateful evening beneath the setting sun, Wang Guangyu seemed to transform into a different person, remaining silent for several days. His attention solely focused on the northwest as he tirelessly practiced with his sword against a wooden post. The Taoist priests, observing his unwavering dedication, felt a pang of sympathy and urged him to speak, but Wang Guangyu remained oblivious to their words. Even the butcher, Li, would occasionally watch him swing his blade, offering sporadic guidance. One day, the mountain was shrouded in a heavy downpour, the chill permeating the air. The raindrops danced upon the meticulously swept stone steps, creating a melodious sound. Undeterred by the rain that soaked his hair and garments, Wang Guangyu arose early as usual to practice his swordplay. Like a man possessed, he struck the wooden post again and again, leaving behind a tapestry of scars until the rain finally ceased. Only then did he sheath his sword and depart. Feeling a sense of indebtedness for the hospitality he received, Wang Guangyu decided to contribute. The temple was in need of bamboo for repairs and other purposes. He ventured into the bamboo grove, drawing his sword to fell the resilient stalks. Though hollow, the bamboo was remarkably tough, often serving as a support for larger blades. With each strike of his sword, he managed to bring down a single bamboo, but at this rate, he would hardly fell a handful in a day. Mere brute strength proved insufficient against the tenacity of the bamboo, prompting him to seek assistance. From deep within the grove emerged the young Taoist who had been chastised previously. With a hint of skepticism, Wang Guangyu handed his sword to the lad. The young Taoist, clutching the blade in his right hand, felt the energy swell within him, and with a graceful flick of his wrist, a bamboo stalk fell effortlessly to the ground. He returned the sword to Wang Guangyu. I observed my senior brothers during their teachings, and they utilized this method for cutting bamboo, the young Taoist explained. I could never fully grasp it, but it seems to involve concentrating one's entire strength into a single point before striking. Intrigued by this insight, Wang Guangyu rose and attempted the technique, channeling his energy into a powerful downward slash. While he achieved a deeper cut, he still could not sever the bamboo in one stroke. Turning to the yawning young Taoist, he inquired further about the radiant energy he had observed on the blade. With newfound interest, the young Taoist replied, according to teachings from below the mountain, martial prowess is classified into 4 realms: the transformation of form, the mastery of energy, the movement of earth, and the ascendance to heaven. In simple terms, the transformation of form grants one strength and speed surpassing that of an ordinary person, while mastery of energy allows one's internal energy to manifest externally. As for the higher realms, they involve harnessing the true essence of the universe for one's own use. However, nothing is absolute. The Buddhist golden body, the Confucian sagehood, and the Taoist concentration surpass even the ascendance to heaven in certain respects. Wang Guangyu, fascinated by this revelation, asked, "What realm do you believe I inhabit? And what about Li the butcher?" The young Taoist chuckled and replied, "Most wanderers of the martial world only reach the pinnacle of the transformation of form in their lifetime. You, however, are quite peculiar. With a sword, you are at the peak of transformation, yet without it, you are merely at the threshold. I have heard you have only practiced for 5 months. Could it be that you are a natural-born swordsman? As for Li the butcher, I leave that for you to discern." As the young Taoist finished speaking, a surge of black and white sword energy erupted behind the two, cleaving through numerous stubborn bamboo stalks. "Zhao Qingxuang, 10 years ago, I faced you at the Fuxi Temple and was tragically defeated in 3 moves. Today, I have come to repay that debt with 3 moves of my own and to duel with you." One figure stood in the center, wielding twin swords, one snow white and the other jet black, revealing himself to be Li Mabai, the butcher. "Let us engage in battle. I fear you not." dressed in azure robes. Zhao Qingxuang descended from the northern platform, leaping through the air to unleash a wave of sword energy aimed at Li Mabai's twin swords. Li Mabai angled his sword to meet the azure energy, effortlessly dissipating the initial onslaught with a flick of his white blade. Without pause, Zhao Qingxuang unleashed a furious downward strike, while Li Mabai directed his black sword upwards. The two blades clashed, and Li Mabai felt an overwhelming force emanating from his opponent, forcing him to retreat 3 steps to absorb the impact. Seizing the opportunity, Li Mabai crouched low and suddenly sprang up, thrusting his black sword straight towards Zhao Qingxuang. Zhao Qingxuang, wielding his sword with one hand, attempted to counter the black blade, only to find the white sword descending violently upon him. The white sword, imbued with a formidable energy, bore down on Zhao Qingxuang, who, despite gripping his sword with both hands, could not withstand the powerful onslaught and was forced back 6 steps. The two resumed their relentless clash, neither yielding an inch. One sword against 2 seemed like a cosmic collision, sparks flying amidst the sharp gleam of their blades. After over 100 exchanges, neither could claim victory, their garments tattered by the fierce sword energy. They fought on for another 100 exchanges, with Zhao Qingxuang's sword energy swelling to 6 feet as he prepared for a decisive confrontation with Li Mabai. The Taoist on the mountain watched in horror as the conflict continued. After another 50 exchanges, still no victor emerged, and both retreated 10 paces. This technique is called twin swords shaking Kong Tong. Zhao Qingxuang, do you dare to accept the challenge? Li Mabai laughed heartily, his twin swords radiating fierce energy. The white sword pointed skyward while the black sword aimed downward, drawing together the clouds above and the gusts of wind below. The white sword shone brightly like the sun piercing the heavens, while the black sword loomed dark and deep, as if to consume the world. Li Mabai stood poised in midair, bravely preparing to strike downward. Why should I not dare? The stoic swordsman Zhao Qingxuang also laughed towards the sky, his famed sword trembling with excitement. The azure energy of the Qingxuang sword surged, and to the astonishment of those watching, an ethereal image of a white tiger arose behind him, towering at 80 feet. Zhao Qingxuang stomped down with such force that the diamond-like stone bricks beneath him shattered into dust. He leaped high, directing his sword upward. 1 sword against 2. The sword energy was piercing, stirring up tumultuous storms, and the ground of the central platform cracked beneath them, a sight too tragic to behold. The clashing of 3 swords intensified the storm, uprooting trees on the mountain. Just as most were prepared to flee for safety, a white-haired Taoist descended on a crane, gently waving his feather duster to quell the tempest. Amidst the storm stood the 2 swordsmen, yet Zhao Qingxuang's azure ribbon had been severed by the sword energy, his black hair cascading down. The white-haired Taoist approached the 2. Qingxuang, you have lost. Hearing this, Li Mabai plopped down onto the ground, laughing heartily, exclaiming, I'm utterly exhausted. The ancient swordsman in azure robes couldn't help but smile, saying, Old rascally, this time you have emerged victorious. Wang Guangyu surveyed the ravaged central platform and glanced at his own light. If I do not confront the Xiongnu, witnessing these 2 near-transcendent beings duel is a worthy sight to behold. The swordsman in the azure robe suddenly turned his gaze towards the young Taoist beside Wang Guangyu. Zhao Gui, how is it that you are here after being confined yesterday? Return and transcribe the pure sutra for me. The young Taoist sighed, cast a glance at Wang Guangyu, and then turned to leave, observing that Li Mabai was too weak to rise. Wang Guangyu had no choice but to carry him back to his dwelling. That night, perhaps due to exhaustion, Li Mabai fell into an exceptionally deep slumber, softly murmuring in his dreams, Old Wang, Old Yao, I shall take care of this child. You 2 need not worry. Once I bring this little one out, I will come to find you. The murmurs were so faint that the soundly sleeping Wang Guangyu did not hear them. Chapter 6. The creation of the cave dwelling in the bamboo grove. The formal apprenticeship of the 8 immortals. The duel of swordsmen yesterday was truly remarkable. It was unexpected to see even the diligent Qingxuang, master uncle, suffer defeat. 2 young acolytes sweeping the temple steps on the mountain were quite engrossed in this matter, chattering incessantly and each expressing their own aspirations to ride the sword down the mountain to rescue the world. However, Wang Guangyu was not in such high spirits. The thrilling battle of the previous day was overshadowed by the burden of repairing the damaged central platform, a task that had fallen upon him. Fortunately, the stern swordsman had waved his hand, assigning the repairs to himself, which left Wang Guangyu with the task of cutting bamboo in the mountain's bamboo grove to reinforce the temple structures. Unlike before, Wang Guangyu was now also responsible for fetching water and tending to the fields, effectively becoming a small servant in this divine mountain. Thankfully, the atmosphere in Kongtong Mountain was harmonious, and no one spoke ill of this fallen young master. Mr. Yao had already departed, and Wang Guangyu could no longer remain the child he once was. With newfound determination, he swung his blade at the stubborn bamboo, employing the same technique as the little acolyte from yesterday, channeling all his strength into each strike. Although he could not sever the bamboo with a mere flick of the wrist like the acolyte, he certainly improved from his previous aimless hacking. By midday, after 5 strikes in the morning, he had managed to cut down 1 bamboo stalk, and by the time he paused for a break, he could now cleave 1 stalk with just 3 strikes. Not bad, young lad, came the voice of Zhao Gui, the little acolyte, who appeared disheveled and unkempt. Wang Guangyu turned to see him and remarked, "Didn't Zhao the swordsman punish you to transcribe the Pure Sutra yesterday? What brings you back here today?" With a cheeky grin, Zhao Gui replied, "After finishing the transcription of the Pure Sutra overnight, I sneaked out and spent the night in this bamboo grove. Thankfully, I didn't encounter the mountain rain. I must say, a good sleep feels splendid." Wang Guangyu couldn't help but chuckle at this. "If you keep sneaking out, you might as well build a small bamboo hut here for convenience." After a morning of cutting bamboo, Wang Guangyu felt a pang of hunger. He took out the meal he had prepared earlier, which contained several steamed buns and a plate of vegetables. Picking up 2 small sticks from the ground and wiping them with his clothing, he reached for the vegetables and took a bun to swallow. He glanced at Zhao Gui, only to find the latter staring intently at the bun in his hand, having not eaten a morsel since last night. Even Zhao Gui's iron constitution could not withstand such hunger. "Would you like some?" Wang Guangyu asked. Zhao Gui's characteristic grin returned as he nodded eagerly. Wang Guangyu handed him a bun, which Zhao Gui quickly accepted, following suit by picking up 2 sticks to reach for the vegetables and devoured them hungrily. Once Wang Guangyu finished his meal, he resumed chopping bamboo. Zhao Gui, having had enough rest and food, found himself with nothing to do. True to Wang Guangyu's suggestion, he began gathering the fallen bamboo and constructed a small dwelling amidst the grove. Rather than a proper hut, it resembled a cramped doghouse, barely large enough to accommodate 2 individuals. Looking at the shabby little bamboo hut, Zhao Gui felt a swell of pride and loudly declared his intention to inscribe characters on it, adding yet another dwelling to the Kongong Mountain. Zhao Gui turned to Wang Guangyu and said, having spent several years studying at the foot of the mountain, "Could you perhaps provide me with some phrases to inscribe for this cave dwelling? I shall handle the name myself. You need only suggest a few words." Wang Guangyu retrieved a purple sandalwood brush, the very one Mr. Yao had placed in his writing box on the day he departed the city. Since learning of Mr. Yao's demise at the Western Fortress, Wang Guangyu had carried it with him, meticulously maintaining it, as if the brush were a manifestation of his late mentor. He moistened the brush in his mouth and then inscribed 8 grand characters on the bamboo structure. "If the Xiongnu are not defeated, how can one return home?" Zhao Gui, with a hand shaped like a knife, engraved 5 characters beneath, Fuguang Washu Cave. As the years slipped by, this humble cave nestled within the bamboo grove became enshrouded in legend, attracting throngs of worshippers. It was said to be the creation of a remarkable emperor who ensured a century of harmonious weather and a distinguished Taoist master. Those who came to pay homage believed they could prolong their lives and attain serenity of spirit. But these tales belong to another time. After constructing the small dwelling from the bamboo Wang Guangyu had cut, Zhao Gui felt a twinge of guilt. His cultivation at the imperial energy level radiated forth as he lent a hand to Wang Guangyu, assisting in the chopping of stubborn bamboo. As the sun set in the west, Wang Guangyu carried back the day's harvest of bamboo poles to the Taoist temple, with Zhao Gui trailing behind, burdened with a few poles of his own, seeking to find a pretext to evade the reprimands of several senior brothers atop the mountain. Upon reaching the 8 Immortals platform, the elder Taoist priests noticed Zhao Gui with bamboo in tow, exchanging knowing glances, smiling quietly, as if awaiting the young yet highly esteemed disciple to explain himself. Wang Guangyu set down the bamboo he had cut, only to find the elder Taoist staring intently at him. Li Mabai sat regally at the center of the 8 Immortals platform, his attire immaculate, with twin swords sheathed behind him, embodying a demeanor far removed from his previous disheveled state, exuding an air of ethereal independence. As Wang Guangyu approached Li Mabai, he sensed an unusual shift in the latter's demeanor. Could it be that Zhao Qingshuang had dealt him a blow to the head yesterday? "Wang Guangyu, in the past you have called me master, yet I have not acknowledged you. Today, however, I intend to take you as my disciple." Li Mabai's voice boomed like thunder, reverberating through the heavens and earth. In response, Wang Guangyu knelt, bowing 3 times towards Li Mabai. Li Mabai rose with determination, proclaiming loudly, "I, Li Mabai, hereby establish this master-disciple contract. As a mentor, I shall impart my knowledge without reservation. Let heaven and earth bear witness. Wang Guangyu then stood and declared, I, Wang Guangyu, hereby acknowledge this master-disciple contract. As a disciple, I shall honor my master and uphold the teachings, never forgetting his kindness. Let heaven and earth bear witness. Clouds rolled down from the heavens, and auspicious purple mist enveloped Kongong Mountain. White clouds spiraled around the Eight Immortals platform, while yellow cranes soared from its heights. 3,000 Taoist priests stood before the platform, chanting scriptures in unison. Suddenly, celestial music filled the air, and divine light radiated forth. The headmaster, an elderly Taoist priest with white hair, Zhao Tianji, descended gracefully upon a crane, calling out, Master, please bestow upon your disciple the initiation gift. Li Mabai swiftly approached Wang Guangyu and presented him with 2 divine stones, one black and one white, emitting a gentle glow that scattered into the air. A most wondrous sight. Wang Guangyu knelt, receiving the divine stones with both hands. The celestial anomalies have vanished, leaving only Wang Guangyu and Li Mabai at the Eight Immortals platform, one kneeling and the other standing. Li Mabai helps Wang Guangyu to his feet, restoring his previously disheveled appearance, and the noble demeanor befitting a swordsmanship lineage dissipates like mist. Since you have chosen to be my disciple, you must learn the art of my dual swords. At the very least, you ought to become a proficient practitioner of dual blades. The 2 stones I just bestowed upon you, one black and one white, are fragments of celestial iron. In due course, I shall take you to forge 2 exquisite swords. Your current sword, Fuguang, is indeed exceptional among mundane weapons. However, for my disciple, it falls slightly short. As Li Mabai's disciple, one may face scarcity in many aspects, but the quality of one's weapon must never be compromised. Wang Guangyu, holding the black and white stones, gazes vacantly towards the north, murmuring, not far now, not far. Chapter 7. The blade drawn beneath the waterfall. The twin blades forged on Mount Kongong in the early morning, at a waterfall on Mount Kongtong. A young man, clad only in his bare skin, sat in meditation at the bottom of a deep pool. This youth practiced holding his breath, for in the art of swordsmanship, the mastery of breath is paramount. Without sufficient breath, one lacks strength. The renowned Liang Dao is celebrated for its formidable power, striking down with the weight of Mount Tai and thrusting upward like a rabbit springing from a hawk. Seated by the pool's edge, Li Mabai spoke slowly. After struggling in meditation for a minute, Wang Guangyu could no longer endure and resurfaced, gasping for air before plunging back down. This cycle continued until, during his final attempt, he remained submerged for 5 minutes, nearly losing consciousness. Li Mabai, shaking his head in resignation, stepped into the water and effortlessly retrieved Wang Guangyu. Remarkably, both were completely dry despite their diving. Li Mabai then unleashed a forceful energy upon Wang Guangyu's chest, prompting him to cough out several mouthfuls of water and regain his senses. Desiring haste often leads to failure. Why can't you understand this? No one can achieve overnight success. Not even the esteemed commander of the Imperial Guards in Linen City, known as the greatest martial artist in the realm. Wang Guangyu stammered apologies, eager to dive again. But Li Mabai swiftly intervened. Hold on. Don't be so hasty to plunge back into the water. You still have to chop 100 bamboo stalks today. True. I did damage that middle bamboo, but now that we are master and apprentice, you shall bear this minor transgression on my behalf. Wang Guangyu nodded in acquiescence, quickly donning his clothes and shouldering the bundle of bamboo as he ventured deeper into the grove. Li Mabai stroked his chin thoughtfully, remarking, Wangi, do you see? This lad possesses a stubborn temperament reminiscent of you when practicing with the blade. As Wang Guangyu entered the bamboo grove, he monotonously repeated his chopping motions, causing bamboo stalks to topple one by one. Unbeknownst to him, the techniques of concentrating all his strength into a single point had already become second nature. Suddenly, his movement slowed, and a furrow of concentration appeared on his brow, as if deep in thought. Then, taking a deep breath, he closed his eyes, gripping the blade tightly and focusing his mind. Suddenly, his eyes snapped open, a spark of brilliance flashing within them. With a decisive downward strike, an aura seemed to emanate from the blade, and with a single cut, 3 bamboo stalks fell, their severed ends smooth and clean. Overjoyed by this success, Wang Guangyu sought to replicate the feat, yet regardless of how he concentrated or attempted to mimic the previous action, he could not achieve the same result. A twinge of discouragement crept into his heart. After days of training, he could now sever a single stalk with one strike. Resolving to press on, he hastened his pace and soon completed his daily task of chopping 100 bamboo stalks. Once finished, he bound the 100 stalks together with hemp rope and hoisted them onto his shoulder. In previous days, Zhao had assisted him in transporting the bamboo, but today, for reasons unknown, Zhao was absent. The weight of the bamboo pressed down on Wang Guangyu, and even at the pinnacle of his cultivation, he felt the strain. At the central platform, the swordsmanship master Zhao Qingshuang, who had attained the transcendent realm, presided over the repairs, swiftly restoring it to its original state. As Wang Guangyu passed by the platform while transporting bamboo, he witnessed the Kongtong sect leader, Zhao Tianji, standing before a gathering of disciples. Practicing a unique fist technique he had originated on Kongtong Mountain. With each punch, Zhao Tianji's speed increased, his arms moving like those of a monkey, while his footwork displayed unparalleled finesse. Suddenly, a surge of energy coalesced in his hands, drawing in the fallen leaves and dust around him, which swirled into a rotating sphere. A phenomenon most extraordinary. Dear disciples, he proclaimed, mastering this technique will allow you to sweep the ground far more swiftly than with a broom. The young acolytes in the mountains displayed expressions of disappointment, realizing that this was merely a method for sweeping. They had anticipated that the leader would impart genuine martial skills, if not for confronting bandits, at least for self-defense. Li Mabai, observing from a distance behind the young disciples, remarked, "This is no mere sweeping technique. It is clearly the art of energy manipulation. At its pinnacle, one can summon a sword from 1,000 miles away with a mere call. Such grandeur is worthy of the title of Grand Master of Swordsmanship." Wang Guangyu, unable to comprehend fully, felt this technique resembled something fantastical from a martial arts novel. The martial arts of the Kongtong sect predate those of the Shaolin, Amei, and Wudong schools. The previous sect leaders, such as Fai Hongzi, assimilated the profound interplay of Central Plains and Western regions cultures from Dunhuang, culminating in the development of Kongtong Mountain's esteemed martial arts, emphasizing practical application and the subtle art of using 4 ounces to deflect 1,000 pounds. In recent generations, they have incorporated elements of energy manipulation, rendering the practices of Kongtong Mountain even more enigmatic and elusive. Initially, Wang Guangyu had only heard tales of these techniques, but witnessing them firsthand today left him in awe. Yet, before he could express his admiration, a more pressing matter occupied his mind. He set down the bamboo he was carrying and ran towards Li Mabai, recounting how he had effortlessly chopped 3 bamboo stalks in the grove. Practicing energy cultivation for a day has allowed me to graze the boundaries of energy manipulation. It seems I have underestimated you. We shall commence the next phase of your training today. Li Mabai seized Wang Guangyu and sprinted towards a small pond nestled within the mountains. As Wang Guangyu prepared to sit quietly in the water, Li Mabai halted him. Your purpose here extends beyond mere energy cultivation. Behold the waterfall above. Wang Guangyu looked up to see the waterfall cascading down 3,000 feet, akin to a river of stars descending with unyielding force. Today, I bring you here so that you may draw your sword and sever the water. When the water breaks, your power will be complete. With a smile, Wang Guangyu leaped high, aiming his sword at the waterfall. However, the instant the blade made contact with the rushing water, he was forcefully swept downward into the pond. Time and again, he leapt up only to be thrust back down by the relentless current. It was not until the pressure on his hands became unbearable, blood seeping from his palms, that he finally paused to contemplate. What if it were not the blade itself making contact with the water, but rather the energy enveloping the blade? After contemplating deeply, Wang Guangyu held his breath as if he were in a forest, suddenly striking downwards at the waterfall with a knife. The water parted, revealing a small opening. Just as he reveled in his achievement, a wave of weakness overwhelmed him, rendering him unable to stand. He fell directly into the pool, exhausting all his energy to swim to the shore, where he promptly fainted. Having practiced his qi cultivation for merely a day, the exertion from delivering 2 qi-infused strikes had indeed been excessive. Li Mabai, upon shouldering Wang Guangyu, murmured softly. He bent down to pick up the blade Fu Guang, noticing its surface marred with dents and its edge frayed. The bamboo on this mountain was exceptionally resilient, and the continuous chopping over several days was beyond what this ordinary blade could withstand. It was time to forge 2 new blades for my disciple. Having settled Wang Guangyu in a dwelling, Li Mabai penned a letter and, clutching Fu Guang along with 2 pieces of divine stone, descended the mountain. When Wang Guangyu awoke, he groped around but found no sign of Fu Guang. Spotting a letter on the table, he saw it filled with crooked, haphazard characters. The letter read, "Disciple, your master has gone down the mountain to forge a blade for you. Do not worry, I shall return within 7 days. During these 7 days, you must sit quietly by the pool to cultivate your qi. Only with sufficient energy can it entwine around the blade. However, you will need a sparring partner. With your stubborn nature, I fear I might return to find your lifeless body." After reading the letter, Wang Guangyu began searching for someone. Although the Taoists on Kongtong Mountain were amiable, they were all busy with their own duties and few had the leisure to accompany him in his cultivation. Just as he despaired of finding anyone, he spotted Zhao Gui squatting by a tree, yawning. Without explanation, he pulled Zhao Gui over. Zhao Gui was unperturbed. Upon seeing the deep pool and waterfall, he felt a refreshing coolness and found a stone to sit on, watching Wang Guangyu meditate beneath the surface. Wang Guangyu's stubbornness resurfaced, and he soon found himself struggling in the water, gasping for breath. Zhao Gui quickly jumped in, pulling him back to the shore, his expression calm as he remarked, "You look like a turtle floundering in the water," before bursting into laughter. Time flowed swiftly like this, and before long, 7 days had passed. Wang Guangyu could now thrash about underwater for 5 or 6 minutes, a sense of pride swelling within him. "Disciple, catch the blade," a voice called from the northwest. Before he could see the person, 2 cool blades appeared. One, radiant as the sun in its platinum hue, was named Fuguang, while the other, silver-purple like the moon, was called Washu. Wang Guangyu leaped high to catch the 2 blades, sheathing them at his waist. He drew one and struck at the waterfall's curtain, slicing through it cleanly, as if a golden blade had cleaved a jade ribbon. On this day, Wang Guangyu stepped into the initial realm of Qi mastery. Chapter 8. The blade returns to its sheath. Cultivating the mortal body in the tranquil surroundings of Kongtong Mountain, Li Mabe imparted wisdom to Wang Guangyu, illustrating the 8 techniques of the blade: sweeping, cleaving, drawing, slicing, grazing, restraining, severing, and thrusting. While the art of the sword and the blade share a common destination, they diverge in execution. The blade, in contrast to the sword, embraces a more expansive and robust style, albeit with fewer variations yet remaining formidable in power. As Li Mabe demonstrated the techniques with dual swords in hand, Wang Guangyu, inspired by his mentor, drew forth his own blades, Fu Guang and Wang Shu, and endeavored to mimic the movements. After several repetitions, Wang Guangyu's proficiency blossomed. His form was nearly perfect, and his spirit somewhat resonant. Li Mabe marveled at Wang Guangyu's innate talent for the blade, recalling the youthful prowess of Wang Yi, and lamented, had this lad not been deterred by Wang Yi in his youth, he would likely rank among the top 10 blade wielders in the realm today. Observing Wang Guangyu's execution, however, Li Mabe sensed a fleeting stagnation in his energy flow, which dulled the essence of the blade techniques. He scrutinized Wang Guangyu's smooth breathing and agile footwork. Yet the root of the issue eluded him. Thus, he instructed Wang Guangyu to cease momentarily, asking, "Do you not perceive the flaw in your technique?" Perplexed, Wang Guangyu shook his head. Li Mabe then unsheathed his dual swords, inviting Wang Guangyu to strike. The latter leapt and slashed downward, only for Li Mabe to effortlessly parry with one hand. When Wang Guangyu subsequently attacked with bare fists, Li Mabe blocked with a mere fingertip. It dawned on Li Mabe that the disparity lay in Wang Guangyu's grasp of the blades. Astonishingly, when wielding the swords, his strength transcended into the realm of Qi manipulation. Yet when unarmed, he barely reached the mid-stage of rebirth. From this day forth, Li Mabe declared, "Suspend your blade training. You shall instead focus on fortifying your body." Join these young Taoists in their exercises and emulate their routines. With a heavy heart, Wang Guangyu relinquished his beloved blades. Just as he contemplated lamenting his fate, he noticed the 8 characters engraved on the hilt, which stilled his complaints. After bowing to Li Mabe, he turned towards the Taoist temple. Li Mabe examined the inscription, which read, "Unyielding against the Xiongnu, how shall one return home?" He mused at the uncanny resemblance between Wang Guangyu and Wang Yi, recognizing the former's innate talent for wielding a blade. It was remarkable how his strength transformed from rebirth to the initial stage of Qi manipulation with the mere presence of a blade. Wang Guangyu embraced Li Mabe's guidance, adopting the life of a young Taoist, sweeping the courtyard, practicing martial arts with the elder Taoists, tending to the fields, fetching water, and meditating. This routine became the essence of his existence. Observing his diligence, Zhao Gui, initially aloof, began to engage playfully with Wang Guangyu, gradually shedding his lethargic demeanor. Following the advice of his seniors, he, like Wang Guangyu, arose with the dawn and returned at dusk. Thus, a month passed, and the elder Taoists entrusted Wang Guangyu and Zhao Gui with a most extraordinary task. Without the aid of farming tools, they endeavored to replant the cleared bamboo growth. Bamboo is seldom known to flower, with blooming periods extending up to 50 years or even longer. The blossoms, diminutive yet resplendent in color, herald the demise of the bamboo forest, yielding bamboo rice, which is rare and difficult to obtain, further accentuated by the adage that phoenixes do not consume bamboo grains. Wang Guangyu gazed at the small pouch of bamboo rice in his hand, then at the barren grove he had felled, rendered speechless. Had he foreseen this, he would have refrained from erecting the bamboo hut, thereby conserving some bamboo. Zhao Gui, standing beside him, was equally astonished. Let us first plant this bamboo rice, he suggested. And we shall devise another plan for the remainder. Wang Guangyu gritted his teeth and declared, let us proceed. With that, he began to till the earth with his hands, sowing the seeds and covering them with soil. Initially, he felt confident, yet as the task progressed, agony began to overwhelm him. By the time he had sown only half, his hands were ablaze with pain, and his back ached, the toil comparable to dragging timber atop Nanshan in Shigu County. Wang Guangyu collapsed onto the ground but, after a moment of resolve, rose once more to continue planting. As the sky blushed with the hues of dusk and the sun dipped below the horizon, Wang Guangyu and Zhao Gui finally completed the sowing of the pouch of bamboo rice. Wang Guangyu, determined, made his way to the mountain stream to wash the earth from his hands and face, drinking deeply from the cool spring water. He then lay back on the ground. And although Zhao Gui felt fatigue as well, he did not succumb to lying down. Instead, he settled beside Wang Guangyu. Together, they admired the sky ignited by the setting sun, bursting into hearty laughter. However, the following day, Wang Guangyu and Zhao Gui found themselves in despair once more. For the bamboo rice had been nearly depleted, and vast stretches of the bamboo forest remained unsown. Suddenly, an idea struck Wang Guangyu. He returned to their dwelling and retrieved the meticulously cleaned writing box, within which lay neatly arranged manuscripts he had been transcribing daily since departing from Jinshan County. Are you still transcribing every day? Zhao Gui inquired. While rummaging through the box, Wang Guangyu hurriedly replied, it is the task entrusted to me by Mr. Yao. I dare not forget, lest I incur his wrath. Upon uttering this, his emotions seemed to waver momentarily, yet he quickly regained his composure. He extracted a manuscript detailing the method for planting bamboo. Bury the rhizomes, select healthy bamboo rhizomes, preserving the root, and cut them to approximately half a meter before burying them in the soil, he read slowly. Having discovered the method to fully plant the bamboo grove, the two immediately began their endeavor, rushing to another bamboo grove to chop the rhizomes. Without the aid of two cool blades, Wang Guangyu had no choice but to emulate Zhao Gui's technique of hand-cutting the rhizomes. Wang Guangyu's mastery of qi was not yet refined enough to render it as sharp as a blade. It took numerous strikes to sever the rhizomes. Zhao Gui, having reached the realm of qi mastery at the tender age of 12, now, after many years of cultivation, wielded his skills with ease. During their labor, Wang Guangyu inquired how Zhao Gui, despite not practicing formally, possessed considerable prowess. Zhao Gui simply replied, I observe others. Thus, Wang Guangyu and Zhao Gui wielded their bamboo whips, laboriously turning the earth and subsequently covering it once more. After a month, the once bare bamboo grove that Wang Guangyu had cleared was finally teeming with new growth. On the night of this transformation, Zhao Gui extended an invitation to Wang Guangyu to visit his bamboo abode. After finishing his daily manuscript in his own dwelling, Wang Guangyu hurried to the small bamboo house. Upon arriving, he discovered that Zhao Gui had yet to arrive. Lighting a small oil lamp, he settled in to wait. Just as he began to feel that Zhao Gui was breaking his promise and considered leaving, he noticed a shadowy figure lurking outside. Wang Guangyu opened the door to find none other than Zhao Gui, who, after ensuring that no one was around, revealed a small jar of wine concealed within his robe. I filched this from Brother Qingxuang, he chuckled. This wine has been buried beneath the peach tree at the temple for many years. We must drink it quickly and then refill the jar with water before returning it. The two friends sat beneath the moonlight, sharing the wine, only to discover that the jar contained water instead. Perhaps it was the mischief of Uncle Qingxuang, who had indulged in the wine when he was tempted. The two burst into hearty laughter, finding the water surprisingly intoxicating. They drank with gusto, reveling in the moment. That night, the cool breeze rustled the bamboo leaves, and under the moonlight, the two men forged a bond akin to brotherhood, despite their differing surnames. Chapter 9. The Autumn Wind Rises. Returning to the mortal realm as Wang Guangyu once again grasped his blade after more than 2 months of Taoist training, the atmosphere atop Kongdong Mountain was serene and amicable, with everyone sharing a bond of kinship. He had witnessed a spectacular duel of sword immortals, engaged in agricultural toil, drawn water, and meditated in tranquility. He practiced martial arts alongside the venerable mountain sage, harvested and replanted bamboo in the grove, submerged and resurfaced in the tranquil pond, and indulged in lively conversations within the bamboo cottage. Beneath the waterfall, he wielded his knife, slicing through water, transitioning from a single blade to a dual wield. This encapsulated the entirety of Wang Guangyu's existence since ascending the mountain. With bated breath, he drew his blade slowly. The novice swordsman, having trained for merely 10 months, remained silent, exhaling steadily. He unsheathed his sword and struck with force. The energy of his blade surged 3 feet in the wind. This strike not only cleaved the waterfall but also shattered the stone mountain behind it, fracturing it inch by inch and removing a substantial portion of its peak. The blade's energy soared into the heavens, pointing northward. Li Mabe observed the diminished peak with a subtle smile, remarking, "Wang Yi, you have a fine son." On the second day, after sharing drinks in the bamboo cottage, Wang Guangyu realized it was time to descend the mountain, as the tranquility above could not cultivate a decisive swordsman. Li Mabe approached slowly, and Wang Guangyu felt a twinge of reluctance at the thought of leaving. Yet, life must progress. The past may evoke nostalgia, but it does not pause to wait. Go pack your belongings and bid farewell to the deities here. I have a few words to exchange with the old Taoist Zhao Qingshuang, Li Mabe said before striding towards the temple. With a heavy sigh, Wang Guangyu turned towards the dwelling, walking slowly to savor the scenic beauty of the sacred mountain. In his practice, he was oblivious to worldly affairs, suddenly realizing that autumn had deepened. The day spent here flowed smoothly and swiftly, akin to the clear streams of Konggong Mountain. After some reflection, he calculated that he had been on the mountain for over 5 months. When he first arrived, the landscape was lush and verdant, but now, as he prepared to depart, the mountains were ablaze with crimson hues, their layers painted in vibrant colors. As usual, Zhao Gui lounged in the bamboo grove, yawning upon seeing Wang Guangyu pass by. "Hey, have you completed your training for today? You finished quite early. What fun activities shall we pursue this year?" Wang Guangyu's expression remained solemn, devoid of joy. Zhao Gui scrutinized him further, asking, "Did that old manly reprimand you for your sword practice?" "No worries, once I ascend to the heavens, I shall protect you and teach that old man a lesson, relieving you of this grievance." Finally, Wang Guangyu spoke, "I shall descend the mountain tomorrow." Upon hearing this, Zhao Gui fell silent, accompanying Wang Guangyu as they walked back to their quarters. Unable to contain himself, he remarked, "I've never descended the mountain at my age. They say life below is quite thrilling, unlike the mundane existence here. Next time you ascend, you must regale me with tales of the wonders from the world below." Wang Guangyu nodded, organizing his belongings. "Shall we drink in the bamboo cottage tonight? This time, I'll procure some real wine from Master Li." Zhao Gui suggested with a smile, and Wang Guangyu agreed. That night, Wang Guangyu sat quietly in the bamboo cottage, awaiting Zhao Gui's return. Yet the familiar figure did not appear. Unlike his usual self, he did not storm out in anger, but instead spent the night drinking alone. Burying another jar of wine beneath the cottage, he picked up a purple sandalwood brush and, in a drunken stupor, inscribed verses upon the walls of the cottage. "In a lifetime, how often can one truly laugh? When we meet again over wine, let us become inebriated once more." On the following morning, Wang Guangyu had already packed his belongings and donned his twin daggers. He bid farewell to the various Taoists with Li Mabe, frequently glancing back, yet still seeing no sign of that languid figure. Resigned, he sighed and made his way down the mountain. Upon reaching the mountain gate, he cast one last glance back, when suddenly a Taoist robe swept past him. It was Zhao Gui. His eyes were darkened, as though he had not slept all night. Yet the energy radiating from him was markedly different from the day before. Even Li Mabe was taken aback by this newfound aura. Last night, Zhao Gui had pondered atop the mountain for a long while, braving the fierce winds as he practiced the martial arts taught by the master. He found himself becoming increasingly adept, his movements flowing effortlessly, the energy within him surging like the yellow river. This young Taoist, who had entered the realm of Qi mastery since the age of 12, had trained all night and had now become the youngest to attain the ground-shaking realm. Wang Guangyu stood dumbfounded. How is this possible? Last night, I entered the ground-shaking realm. If I practice for another 2 or 3 years, wouldn't the celestial realm be within my grasp? In that case, I shall look after you, brother. Zhao Gui, hands on his hips, radiated vitality. By the way, I have something to give you. Trembling, Zhao Gui gathered a glimmer of silver light in his hand and pointed it at Wang Guangyu. A silver mark appeared on Wang Guangyu's forehead. This silver light embodies my insights into the art of Qi manipulation and the techniques taught by my elder brother. If you miss me, practice the martial arts, learn the art of Qi manipulation, and you will be able to fly with a sword in the Jianghu. Attracting the attention of many young maidens, though I have yet to see them myself. As for the jar of wine buried beneath the bamboo cottage, consider it a return gift. After condensing the silver light, Zhao Gui's complexion paled considerably as he continued, "All right, enough of this farewell. Let us not indulge in the overly sentimental, as written in books, gazing at each other with tearful eyes, unable to speak in choked silence. It is rather nauseating. I have not slept all night. I am off to rest. With that, Zhao Gui turned and departed. Wang Guangyu silently watched Zhao Gui's retreating figure, then suddenly smiled softly. He followed closely behind Li Mabe down the mountain, before turning to walk out through the mountain gate. This time, he did not look back. Upon reaching the foot of the mountain, the autumn wind swept through the fallen leaves, and the sea of flowers at the base of Kongnong Mountain lay in disarray. Distant barks of dogs echoing through the air. The mountain above and the world below felt like two distinct realms. The desolate autumn wind persisted. Yet the human world had transformed. Wang Guangyu brushed his fingers over the silver mark on his forehead, gazing at the melancholic autumn scenery. And an indomitable spirit rose within him as he laughed heartily. To this wretched world, I have arrived. Chapter 10. The Wandering Knight with a wooden sword. In the heart of Yongzhou lies the city of Tian, a place reputed to have been the capital of a previous dynasty. Before the onset of war with the Xiongnu, this land thrived in peace, with its citizens enjoying a prosperous and harmonious existence, reminiscent of a golden age. However, following the fall of Jincheng County, the capital of Liangzhou, tranquility has eluded this territory. Merchants have hastily departed with their families toward the south, and an air of anxiety pervades the city. Each day, soldiers desert their posts, unwilling to perish on land destined to become a battlefield. Even officials, despite the loss of their esteemed positions, seek to flee this perilous place. Thus, autumn draws to a close, heavy with sorrow. At the city gate, two figures enter slowly. One carries a bundle, while the other bears an enigmatic black box. These are none other than Wang Guangyu and his disciple, Li Mabe. They step into a tea house and order 2 bowls of plain noodles. The establishment is sparsely populated, with 2 men engaged in animated conversation. Brother Jean, one chubby man remarked. Heed my advice. The Xiongnu are ruthless, with their savage nature and fearsome appearance. The once mighty troops of Liangzhou might withstand them, but the soldiers of Yongzhou, who have not seen battle in years, would likely succumb at the first encounter. The man addressed as Brother Jean remained silent, merely sipping his tea. The corpulent man continued. Brother Jean, do you not grasp my implication? We should gather our belongings and flee with our families to the south, where the climate is mild and the Xiongnu cannot reach us. Should you choose to leave, do so without dragging me along, the Jean-named man retorted with bitterness. The plump man smirked. Very well, I shall take my leave, and you can remain behind. He hastily exited the tea house, leaving Brother Jean to drink tea alone, lost in melancholy before finally emerging into the street. Wang Guangyu slurped his noodles, finding them inferior to the beef noodles from Jincheng County. Shaking his head at the scene, he mused, Child, there are many more days ahead. The anxiety and unrest of the people before the onset of war extend far beyond this moment. Li Mabe, having peeled a clove of garlic and popped it into his mouth, mumbled indistinctly. The two quickly finished their meal, only to be ushered out by the tea house's server, who announced that the owner, too, intended to escape to the south with his wealth. Reluctantly, they joined the throng on the main street. Once alive with the sounds of vendors and chatter, the thoroughfare now lay in disarray. In a corner, a beggar lay lifeless from starvation, while a child was abandoned due to his family's financial straits. As they navigated the streets, Wang Guangyu lamented, Even in our own struggles, we cannot turn a blind eye to the suffering of others. These wretched barbarians deserve their fate. At that moment, a man began to display his martial prowess on the street, calling for local heroes to join the fight against the Xiongnu. He wielded a finely crafted iron spear, his movements exuding vigor. Yet, the hurried crowd paid him no mind, and several youths eager to confront the Xiongnu were swiftly pulled back by their parents. Upon closer inspection, Wang Guangyu recognized the man from the tea house, none other than the aforementioned Brother Jean. The man bearing the surname Jean wielded his long spear for an extended period. Yet no one approached him, leading to a sense of despondency. He leaned against the wall, resting with his weapon. Wang Guangyu, observing this, felt a surge of interest and stepped forward. The Jean man, noticing someone approaching, hurriedly welcomed him. Young brother, do you wish to join me in resisting the Xiongnu? Wang Guangyu glanced at Li Mabe, considering responding positively to the Jean man. However, Li Mabe shook his head and remarked that the time was not yet ripe. The Jean man, incensed, retorted, You old coward, a traitor to your country, how dare you drag the youth into becoming a slave to a fallen nation? Li Mabe remained unperturbed and suggested that Wang Guangyu engage in a duel with the Jean man. Upon hearing this, Wang Guangyu picked up a wooden sword. I escaped from Liangzhou, lacking any surplus silver, hence I could only fashion this wooden sword. Since descending the mountain, Li Mabe had advised him against drawing a blade unless absolutely necessary, primarily to avoid attracting thieves due to the allure of a fine sword, and to keep the essence of the treasured blade concealed. The Jin man, hearing this, masked his disdain and silently removed the spearhead from his long spear. "Please, enlighten me." Wang Guangyu, in response, similarly raised his wooden sword. The Jin man lunged forward, thrusting his spear, but Wang Guangyu sidestepped, causing the spear to transition into a horizontal slash. The wooden sword was hastily raised in defense, barely managing to block the attack. As the spear pressed down, Wang Guangyu propelled himself forward, executing a swift maneuver akin to a rabbit leaping to evade a hawk. With a deft flick, he deflected the spear, compelling the Jin man to retreat a few steps. The two, now locked in a struggle, finally separated and resumed a standoff. This spear-wielding lad employs a military form of combat, fierce and relentless in pursuit of life. Li Mabe observed thoughtfully, "It is fortunate he removed the spearhead. Otherwise, young Wang would surely bear wounds." Wang Guangyu, regarding the spear-wielding man, contemplated the inherent advantage of a long spear over a sword, realizing that mere defense would only lead to inevitable defeat. Yet, before he could ponder further, the spear came at him once again. This time, instead of retreating, he boldly advanced, channeling a surge of energy as he seized the spear's shaft. Before the Jin man could react, Wang Guangyu's wooden sword had already touched his forehead. To exchange one life for a single hand is a fair trade. Wang Guangyu's mind finally cleared. Li Mabe, observing from the sidelines, expressed his approval. The Jin man, seemingly unable to accept his defeat, struggled momentarily before ultimately conceding. "With such skill, is it any wonder you were reduced to fleeing in Liaosho?" Wang Guangyu silently acknowledged. The Jin man appeared to lose his spirit, sitting on the ground for quite some time before regaining his composure. "My family has served in the military for generations. Can it be that the Xiongnu are truly insurmountable? It seems our Taiping dynasty is in peril." Wang Guangyu was taken aback by the man's intense reaction and turned to look at Li Mabe, who had seldom encountered such situations. They exchanged glances, both feeling a profound awkwardness. Suddenly, the Jin man rose once more, retrieving his long spear. "Regardless, as a member of the Jin family, I cannot be a coward. Even if I stand alone, I shall perish on the battlefield. To slay one is no loss, but to slay two is a triumph." The man appeared to have found solace, waving farewell to Wang Guangyu and Li Mabe, affixing the gun barrel to the firearm before turning to depart. Loyal bones lie buried in the green hills. There is no need for a horse's hide to wrap the corpse. This sentiment encapsulated the essence of characters like the man with the surname Jin. Wang Guangyu silently observed the broad yet sorrowful silhouette of the Jin man as he departed, struck by a sense of desolation. He wished he could emulate the Jin man's noble readiness to face death, yet he found himself unable to do so. Li Mabe would not permit it. Nor would Mr. Yao, and neither would the young Taoist priest Zhao Gui from the mountains, not to mention the now missing Wang Yi and Liao Qian. Wang Guangyu, feeling forlorn, sheathed his wooden sword and turned back to witness the tragic sight of the desolate city, sensing that these people were afflicted, this city was ailing. Or perhaps this dynasty was in decline. As the 11th chapter unfolded, ominous clouds gathered, and the night grew dark and perilous. After watching the Jin man depart, Wang Guangyu and Li Mabe sought refuge in an inn. They tethered their steeds outside before entering. The inn's proprietor had likely fled long ago, leaving the establishment an empty shell. Dust and cobwebs enveloped the interior, a testament to the time elapsed since it had last welcomed guests. Wang Guangyu practiced a series of martial arts movements within the dusty confines, observing how the particles of dust were drawn to him, coalescing into a spherical form that swirled gently in his grasp. It was, unmistakably, the boxing style taught to him by the white-haired master of Kongtong Mountain. And Zhao Gui's insights proved remarkably effective. Wang Guangyu expelled the gathered dust out of the window, rummaged through the decrepit inn for bedding, and eventually settled down to sleep, the night passing in silence. At dawn, Wang Guangyu and Li Mabe emerged from the inn. After a night had passed, the exodus from Tian City had intensified. Aside from those who could not leave and the station soldiers, the city seemed nearly devoid of life. "Let us depart today. Our horses require fodder, and you have not yet honed your skills sufficiently. We must make our way to Linen City," Li Mabe remarked slowly. Wang Guangyu acquiesced, and the two mounted their horses, riding towards the city's outskirts. On the road beyond the city, refugees formed an interminable line, stretching as far as the eye could see. Wang Guangyu and Li Mabe were swept along with the throng. Beside Wang Guangyu stood a young girl, her small frame clad in thin garments, trembling in the chill of the autumn breeze, burdened by a heavy load. Her pallid face bore an expression of innocence. "Big brother, where are you from? Are you hungry? I have some baked pancakes, she offered. Wang Guangyu shook his head, and the duo continued their conversation while moving forward through the long procession. Why are you alone? Where are your parents? Wang Guangyu inquired. The girl's expression darkened as she replied, I am from Tianshui County. 2 months ago, Tianshui accepted a group of refugees from Jincheng. Initially, we believed the troops from Liangzhou could fend off the Xiongnu cavalry, but then, Tianshui County fell. My father was killed by the Xiongnu while ensuring our escape, and my mother succumbed to illness during our flight. I fear I too shall not survive much longer, hence I wish to accomplish something before I perish. Wang Guangyu was at a loss for words of comfort. The two remained silent for a long while, observing the frail girl trembling violently. He permitted her to ride on the horse. Initially, she hesitated to burden this young gentleman on his flight, yet as pain coursed through her limbs, she had no choice but to mount. The throng continued its slow advance, as per usual, when suddenly, a band of marauders descended from the mountainside. Hand over your money and provisions if you wish to survive. Anyone attempting to flee will feel the bite of my blade. A grotesque, corpulent man brandished a sword before the crowd. Good sir, I only possess this meager sustenance to care for my ailing wife and my 8-year-old son. I implore you, show mercy and spare my family. A middle-aged man fell to his knees in supplication. The ugly man ignored his pleas and, with a swift stroke, pierced the man's chest. He collapsed slowly to the ground. A small boy rushed from the crowd, kneeling before the lifeless body, wailing uncontrollably, only to have his head severed by the same brutish man. Who dares to whimper? Such is the fate that awaits. Wang Guangyu, concealed within the crowd, felt a surge of rage. Without waiting to retrieve his dual blades from his pack, he brandished a wooden sword and leaped forth, striking at the grotesque man. Where did this wild brat come from, wielding a mere stick, seeking to play the hero? Truly a fool. The ugly man swung his sword at Wang Guangyu's wooden weapon, only to find it unyielding. The young men in the crowd seemed ignited by Wang Guangyu's bravery, and they surged forth, confronting the bandits. With a surge of energy, Wang Guangyu's wooden sword extended 3 feet, cleaving through the crude iron blade of the grotesque man. This wretched man, accustomed to a life of lawlessness, attempted to evade with a sudden twist of his corpulent body, but Wang Guangyu's strike severed his right arm. He spurred his horse into the depths of the mountains, pursued relentlessly by Wang Guangyu. Spare me, noble hero. I am but a refugee in this land, driven to such deeds by the chaos of war. Wang Guangyu remained unresponsive, delivering another strike that further incapacitated the ugly man. Realizing he could not escape, the grotesque man turned his horse, spurring it fiercely towards the young warrior with the wooden sword. I am not the villain, it is this world, this cursed dynasty that is to blame, he bellowed as he charged at Wang Guangyu. With gritted teeth, Wang Guangyu struck again, severing the horse's leg, causing the grotesque man to topple to the ground. Seizing the man by the nape, Wang Guangyu slammed him against a massive rock. The impact was brutal and prolonged, leaving the stone splattered with blood and gore. In the end, all that remained in Wang Guangyu's grasp was a fragment of the man's spine. He casually discarded the vertebra, spat a few times, and turned to depart. The unarmed young men in the crowd fell victim to the bandits wielding steel forks and crude tools. By the time Wang Guangyu arrived, the scene was one of devastation, with countless corpses strewn about while the survivors clutched their deceased loved ones, lamenting their loss. Wang Guangyu searched for his belongings. His bookcase lay carelessly tossed aside, devoid of any gold or silver treasures. Beside the bookcase lay a cold corpse, that of the compassionate maiden from the day, her face still bearing the expression of terror from her final moments. Her thin garments had been thoroughly searched. Wang Guangyu's countenance darkened once more. At that moment, Li Mabe emerged from the grieving crowd. Why did you not intervene? Are you not a transcendent swordsman? Can you not even save such a young girl? Wang Guangyu demanded loudly. Li Mabe's expression remained indifferent. I have already brushed against the threshold of transcendence. If I were to strike against mortals, I would be suppressed by the heavens. The dangers we have faced on this journey are immense. If I were to succumb to the heavenly pressure, who would protect you? Wang Guangyu replied with bitterness, today, I shall annihilate their stronghold. Hand me the blade. No. Your ambition is to become a great general at the northwest frontier, leading the northwest army to repel the Xiongnu, not to act impulsively here. What nonsense about being a great general, if I cannot even uproot a single stronghold? How can I speak of resisting the Xiongnu? Wang Guangyu seized the black bag from Li Mabe's grasp and raced northward, following the hoof prints. As he journeyed north, he finally spotted a rudimentary stronghold. He discarded the black bag and drew his twin blades. In a flash, the radiant arcs of his swords cleaved through the gate. As he entered, the clamor of chaos erupted within. The night was dark and windy, the perfect backdrop for murder. Inside, Blood flowed like rivers, mingled with cries for mercy. Wang Guangyu sheathed his blades as he exited the stronghold, wiping the blood from his face. Damn it, I will not flee any longer. Chapter 12. Return to Taiyan to unite forces and slay the Xiongnu. Part 1. Wang Guangyu, clad in blood-soaked garments, rejoined the fleeing populace. The moonlight painted his attire a sinister crimson, instilling terror in the hearts of the refugees, who, believing him to be a malevolent spirit from the mountains, fled in panic. Seeing that Wang Guangyu's aura had stabilized and he bore no significant injuries, Li Mabe felt reassured. Master, I have made my decision. We shall return to Taiyan City at once. Li Mabe feigned great anger. What is this? You learn a mere semblance of skill for 2 days and already aspire to dominance? You are still far from it. Master, I have considered it carefully. If our only response to the Xiongnu is to flee, then regardless of how high my cultivation may rise in the future, it will prove of little significance. Furthermore, as a son of the Northwest, even if I perish on the battlefield, it would be a noble death. Li Mabe suddenly burst into laughter. If you had truly heeded my words from yesterday, I would have looked down upon you. I would rather take my disciple to wander the world and await death in peace. However, since you now intend to return to Taiyan City, you exhibit a trace of the spirit Wang Yi had in his youth. The two rode back to Taiyan under the moonlight. By dawn, they arrived at the gates of Taiyan City. The atmosphere within was desolate, and the city lay in ruin. The soldiers atop the walls wore solemn expressions, bracing themselves for death. Who approaches? From whence do you come, and why do you seek entry? Are you spies of the Xiongnu? Shouted a soldier from atop the wall. Just then, a man clad in armor stepped through the gates, adorned in black and white, wielding a finely crafted iron spear. His demeanor regal as if a celestial being had descended. It was none other than the man of the Jin surname from a few days prior, General Jin. The whereabouts of these two individuals remain unknown, and the citizens of the city are in a state of panic. It is evident that they are spies sent by the Hu dogs. However, fear not, for I am acquainted with them. Wang Guangyu stepped forward, introducing himself as a native of Jincheng County in Lianzhou, here to aid the general in the fight against the Xiongnu. The man named Jin bowed respectfully and ushered the two into the city. Most of the houses within the city had already been dismantled, their bricks and wooden boards repurposed to reinforce the city's defenses. Thousands of soldiers were arrayed within, practicing drills, the air thick with an atmosphere of impending conflict. Upon entering the general's residence, the man named Jin removed his helmet, shedding his earlier imposing demeanor, and burst into hearty laughter. I knew you would return to the city. Your arrival today brings me great joy. I have witnessed your prowess in battle. Would you not prefer to take on the role of a lieutenant? I do not wish to enlist at this moment. If we triumph in this battle, I shall continue my wandering ways. If we fail, then I shall meet my end here, Wang Guangyu replied. The man named Jin, upon hearing this, could not help but feel a twinge of regret. This battle will be arduous. The Xiongnu forces, despite facing numerous obstacles, boast at least 12 to 13,000 soldiers, while we possess merely 5 to 6,000 within these walls. Wang Guangyu felt a sense of helplessness wash over him at this revelation. The man named Jin continued. The brothers within this city share bonds forged by life and death. To perish together would be worthwhile. Yet, you, my friend, appear to be scarcely beyond 20 years of age. It would be a pity to lose you here. Let it be decided then. I shall grant you the title of lieutenant, so that you may experience a moment of glory before the end. With that, the man named Jin led Wang Guangyu to the training ground. Brothers, this is our new lieutenant. Let us extend a warm welcome. A profound silence enveloped the training ground for a moment. Who is this lad? What right does he have to be a lieutenant? Murmured some soldiers. He must be a scion of the aristocracy, come to this desolate place to earn military merit. Jin Xin, do you not despise these privileges the most? Lacking any true ability, yet adept at seizing military achievements, should you proceed in this manner, I shall no longer recognize you as my brother. The man named Jin laughed heartily, offering no explanation, and turned to depart. The army he commanded was unique in its camaraderie, with all members addressing one another as brothers. Wang Guangyu approached the training ground, where a voice rang out, Child, do not attempt to learn the ways of battle before you have matured on the battlefield. No one will collect your remains for you. If you stumble and cry for your mother, you ought to leave at once. Without uttering a word, Wang Guangyu strode directly to the training ground. The wooden stakes in the training area were crafted from ironwood, its density akin to iron, in previous dynasties. It had even been fashioned into wooden armor for soldiers. Wang Guangyu drew his sword and struck down with fury, cleaving the ironwood stake in two. Silence fell over the training ground. Before the soldiers could comprehend what had transpired, Wang Guangyu advanced to the archery range. He seized a bow, knocked an arrow, and drew back as if to unleash a full moon, releasing it with explosive force. The arrow, imbued with an imperceptible energy, pierced through the target 50 paces away. Well done, lad. A true hero emerges in youth. Had I possessed such skill at your age, I would have surpassed that pretender Jianghu by now. The training ground erupted into exuberant chatter. Wang Guangyu chose to disregard the conversation, turning to Li Mabe and remarked, Master, it seems that Zhao Gui's methods are quite effective. The soldiers, upon hearing this, glanced at the unassuming elder bearing a black box, secretly feeling a chill of apprehension. Wang Guangyu then turned to his fellow soldiers with a smile and inquired, Brothers, you have all witnessed my capabilities. Do you think I could serve as a school lieutenant? Absolutely. If you can dethrone that rascal Jianghu, the brothers would certainly recognize you as a general. In the military, strength is the ultimate truth. Embarrassed, Wang Guangyu looked at Jianghu, who waved his hand dismissively, indicating his indifference. 3 days passed. Outside Tian City, a dark cloud loomed, causing the soldiers within the city to cease their playful banter, each remaining silent as they sharpened their weapons and donned their armor. The atmosphere had become palpably tense. As the ominous cloud drew nearer, it became apparent that it was not merely a cloud, but the Xiongnu cavalry clad in black robes, black armor, and riding black horses. Wang Guangyu stood at the city gate, bow drawn and arrow knocked, feeling a tremor in his legs from experiencing such a spectacle for the first time. The dark cloud halted 100 paces from Tian City, where a fierce old general stood at the forefront. You cowards within the city, surrender immediately, and I, a son of Xia, may grant you a complete corpse. Before Jianghu could respond, Li Mabe stepped onto the battlements. How dare the Rongnu be so audacious? Did they not recognize the 2 swords in my hands? The fierce old general's expression shifted dramatically upon seeing Li Mabe, and he signaled for his troops to retreat 50 paces. Li Mabe, Wang Yi, and Yao Yuan have already fallen beneath the might of my great Xia cavalry. In your youth, you were hailed as invincible warriors, yet in my eyes, you are no more than mere clay chickens and tile dogs. Li Mabe's hands trembled as he gripped his sword, struggling to suppress his rage. The fierce old general laughed heartily. Why does Li Mabe hesitate to strike? Fearing the potential harm to ordinary soldiers and invoking the wrath of heaven? After that incident years ago, you have indeed become as timid as a mouse. Wang Guangyu stood atop the battlements, bow drawn, and released an arrow. The Xiongnu banner was pierced, flapping wildly in the wind. He then shouted, You children of Rongnu, if you wish to fight, then fight. Do not whine like a scorned woman. Your grandpa finds it quite uncomfortable to listen. The fierce old general's expression darkened, and he gestured for his forces to charge forward. The soldiers atop Tian City had already knocked their arrows, unleashing a rain of projectiles upon the advancing dark cloud. The initial volley, however, failed to impede the Xiongnu's advance. Only a handful fell from their ranks. The Xiongnu cavalry merely raised their shields to deflect the arrows, which bounced harmlessly off their armor. Despite several rounds of arrows, the results were negligible. The fierce old general chuckled. Li Mabe, do you see? Your arrows cannot penetrate the armor of our warriors. It was the same 30 years ago, and it remains unchanged today. At last, Jianghu could no longer contain himself, brandishing his spear as he charged out of the city, followed by a throng of mounted soldiers. Brothers, the green mountains everywhere conceal loyal bones. Why must we be wrapped in horsehide? We are brothers in arms. When we die, we shall take a few of those Rongnu dogs with us. With all of you by my side, this life is not lived in vain. The soldiers behind him were equally ignited by these words. Brothers, following this false general for a lifetime, wielding borrowed power for several years, has been worth it. 3,000 cavalrymen surged forth from the gates, resolutely charging towards the Hun's iron horses, unflinchingly embracing death. Jianghu led the charge, impaling a Hun cavalryman with a spear and then tossing the lifeless body into the ranks of the enemy. Jianghu erupted in wild laughter on the battlefield. I thought these old Hun dogs were difficult to slay. A few stabs and they fall just the same. The soldiers behind him joined in the raucous laughter. Their determination to die was unstoppable. The 3,000 cavalry unleashed an astonishing ferocity in battle. Their long spears soared through the air, sharp enough to shatter mountains. Jianghu laughed heartily as he dispatched each foe before him. Around him, comrades fell one after another. Some had their arms severed, yet bit down on their daggers and charged forward. Others had their bellies split open, clutching their spilled intestines as they bravely advanced. Some, blinded by wounds, continued to slash in the dark. Among the 3,000 cavalry, none faltered. All laughed as they killed their enemies. Wang Guangyu, moved by this fervor, stood atop the city wall, vigorously beating the war drums. The resounding drumbeats shattered the desolate autumn winds. A half-unfurled red banner fluttered over Tian, the sound of drums echoing violently. As the Hun cavalry advanced, the people of the Central Plains surrendered their cities at every turn. Witnessing such a fearless band of madmen today made it difficult for him to strike. Amidst the tumult of battle, few noticed a unit quietly emerging from the side gate of Tian City. Wang Guangyu donned his helmet and led a light cavalry unit out of the city from the east, maneuvering through the dense woods to the rear of the Hun army. Jin Xian continued to fight fiercely, surrounded by a continually changing group of comrades. Suddenly, two flashes of light darted past behind the Hun cavalry. Wang Guangyu unsheathed his sword, charging forth with determination. Before the Hun forces could react, severed heads began to fall. Wang Guangyu leaped from his horse, racing towards the supply wagons burdened with provisions. The soldiers guarding the supplies brandished their long spears in defense as Wang Guangyu charged. He twisted in midair, slicing through 3 spears and decapitating 3 foes in one fluid motion, then commandeered a supply cart and sped away, arrows raining down behind him, all blocked by his fellow light cavalry with their shields. This Hun cavalry, deep in enemy territory and already short on provisions, became frantic at the sight of Wang Guangyu seizing their supplies. A fierce old general rushed forward but was intercepted by Li Mabe. "Old dog, today is your day to die," Li Mabe declared, drawing his twin swords. The fierce general commanded his troops to split and pursue Wang Guangyu's light cavalry, while he drew a large blade to confront Li Mabe directly. Li Mabe's sword energy surged like a tempest, altering the very fabric of the atmosphere. The fierce general was taken aback. "Have you entered the celestial realm?" Li Mabe said nothing. His swords danced as he struck at the general. The general barely held his ground as the two became entangled in combat. Observing the fierce general faltering, the Hun soldiers attempted to encircle Li Mabe. However, Jin Xian kept the main force of the Huns firmly engaged, and with some of their troops diverted by Wang Guangyu, they could not split their focus. Helplessly watching as the fierce general found himself increasingly at a disadvantage, Wang Guangyu drove the cart towards the deep mountains, with the Huns relentlessly pursuing him from behind. Wang Guangyu led the Xiongnu cavalry into a secluded valley before swiftly abandoning the supplies to ascend a nearby hill. A sharp arrow struck his left arm from behind, wounding him as he tumbled into the dense forest. Meanwhile, the Xiongnu cavalry swarmed the valley to seize the provisions. Suddenly, they spotted over 100 figures on the hillside, unleashing a barrage of rolling logs and stones, accompanied by a fierce fire attack. In an instant, more than 1,000 Xiongnu soldiers met their untimely demise. Wang Guangyu gritted his teeth and extracted the arrowhead, applying a hasty bandage before descending the hill with 100 riders, finishing off the wounded one by one. He then stripped a fallen Xiongnu soldier of his armor, donned it, and tied a red silk ribbon around his wrist, prompting the remaining riders to follow suit. Clad in Xiongnu armor, Wang Guangyu led his troop back into the fray, driving a supply cart. The seasoned general, seeing his men return with the supplies, breathed a sigh of relief. Jin Xian and Li Mabe, noticing the cavalry leader donned in a mask, ceased their conversation. The tide of battle shifted abruptly as a sudden fire engulfed the supplies, surging towards the rear of the Xiongnu forces. The 100 riders drew their blades and plunged into the chaos, wreaking havoc among the enemy ranks. The general, caught off guard and enraged, became distracted, seizing the opportunity. Li Mabe struck with his sword, severing the general's head in a single blow, which he held aloft. With their commander slain, the remaining Xiongnu soldiers, still disoriented by the cavalry's onslaught, faltered in their ranks, leading to a mass panic. Wang Guangyu, having achieved his objective, led the remaining 10 riders through the encirclement, re-entering Tian City through the east gate. The guards atop the walls inspected the red ribbons on their wrists, allowing Wang Guangyu to enter without incident. There was no time for rest. He readied his bow and unleashed another volley of arrows, as the Xiongnu troops were too preoccupied to re-establish their defenses. This barrage wrought heavy casualties upon the enemy. Jin Xian's black armor lay in tatters, and his white robe had turned crimson. The remaining 2,000 cavalrymen within the city donned their armor and thundered out of the gates. Jin Xian, summoning the last of his strength, shouted, "Charge!" The 2,000 troops surged toward the disordered Xiongnu formation. In that moment, the battlefield was engulfed in a crimson haze, filled with the sounds of shattering armor, clashing blades, and anguished cries. The battle raged from day to night and from night until dawn. As dawn broke, the clamor of combat gradually subsided, leaving only 200 men outside the city. When Jin Xian raised the military standard beneath the rosy sky, the outcome of the conflict was unmistakably clear. The ground outside was soaked with blood, and the bodies lay piled high, indistinguishable from one another. The blood-soaked earth was redder than the morning glow. Wang Guangyu stood atop the city walls, clad in blood-stained garments. He had never witnessed such a scene of carnage, and tears welled uncontrollably in his eyes. Gazing at the unextinguished flames of war beneath the dawn light, the blood-soaked land, and the 200 soldiers, either wounded or maimed, standing upon it, he felt the weight of the tragic victory. Those who can truly support the crumbling edifice are not the leaders of the underworld, nor the high-ranking officials, but rather the ordinary individuals who dared to sacrifice their lives. In the 14th chapter, amidst the mournful atmosphere of the city, after a fierce battle against the Xiongnu, the remaining soldiers had hoped to celebrate that night. Yet, joy eluded them. Of the 6,000 brothers who had shared life and death, only a meager 200 wounded soldiers remained. Who could forget the one who, just yesterday, spoke of returning home in glory to honor his elders, yet today found it a challenge to locate even a single body? The chilling autumn wind swept through, heralding the impending winter. Jean Xin surveyed the sorrowful soldiers and remarked, "Brothers, let us not dwell in despair. The comrades below have fought valiantly to defend this city, not for us to weep like maidens." With that, he rose and retrieved 2 jars of wine from beneath the general's bed. "Brothers, the military forbids alcohol, yet you all know my disposition. I shall lead the way in defiance of this order. Do not let this slip out." Without awaiting a response, Jean Xin leaped atop the city wall and poured 1 jar of wine down below. "To my brothers on the ground, do not hold it against me. We are the only ones in this city with these 2 jars of wine. I shall share one with you. It may not be enough to quench your thirst, but let it suffice as a taste. Should we succeed in repelling the Xiongnu, I will ensure we have a lake of wine here for all of you, whether you wish to drink or not." With that, Jean Xin turned away, his face contorting as he struggled to suppress his emotions. The remaining 200 soldiers, witnessing the general's distorted expression, felt the atmosphere begin to lighten. "Look at this old fellow. Even he is shedding tears." Jean Xin produced the 2nd jar of wine and poured it into the stream flowing through the city. With so little wine, do not expect a cup for each. Just savor the stream to satisfy your cravings. He was the first to scoop up a handful of water and drink. The soldiers followed suit, and Wang Guangyu did likewise, downing his portion in 1 gulp. "Wang, you are a true hero. We have not been able to host you properly this time, but next time we certainly will." Wang Guangyu waved his hand dismissively, indicating it was of no consequence. After they all drank from the stream, the atmosphere once again settled into a solemn silence. Suddenly, a voice emerged from the crowd. "Is this water truly good?" "Good? What nonsense. There is hardly any taste of wine. Instead, I've swallowed a bellyful of sand." Laughter erupted among the soldiers. By midday, the sun hung high in the sky, slightly alleviating the chill of late autumn in the northwest. The weary soldiers had succumbed to fatigue, dozing under the noon sun. Wang Guangyu sat across from Jean Xin, and the two engaged in lively conversation. "Speaking of your ambition to join the military, why did you choose a name with the character Xin? 3 characters for gold stacked together surely signify a desire for great wealth and fortune, do they not? My family has a long lineage of military service, with each expedition resulting in the loss of a few members. In my generation, our numbers have dwindled significantly, prompting my relatives to urge me to pursue a career in commerce. However, my restless spirit led me to the path of military service instead. I enlisted at the tender age of 14, and now, a decade later, I find myself faring reasonably well, surrounded by numerous brothers who are willing to follow me. Alas. By the way, are you truly not considering joining the military? Perhaps you could stay with me in the future. We could be considered sworn brothers. I yearn to enlist, but there are matters that remain unaddressed, and some inquiries that I have yet to clarify." After expressing this, Wang Guangyu gazed towards the east. Lost in thought, Jean Xin, noticing his demeanor, refrained from probing further. The two then reminisced about the great battle outside Jianghu 30 years prior, which marked the Central Plains' first counteroffensive against the Xiongnu. That legendary military genius, claimed to be a once-in-500 years talent, led an army of 400,000 to defeat 600,000 foes along the Yellow River. That battle instilled such fear in the Xiongnu that they refrained from invading for 25 years. However, following the triumph, the military genius vanished without a trace. Jean Xin passionately declared that military genius serves as a paragon for all of us who have devoted ourselves to the martial path. Their conversation drifted to everyday matters, exchanging words for an entire afternoon. When Wang Guangyu mentioned that his father was Wang Yi, Jean Xin was taken aback. "Your father is the celebrated general who successfully repelled the Xiongnu 30 years ago." "No, he was merely a humble county magistrate from Shigu County in Jincheng, Liangzhou, who who disappeared after the city fell, Wang Guangyu replied. It is said that the military genius, after experiencing that intense battle, saw a significant decline in strength and became disheartened. Ultimately relegated to a small county magistrate, Li Mabai approached the two from behind, affirming, indeed, Wang Guangyu's father was the renowned general of the Northwest 30 years ago. Jin Xian was astonished, recalling tales of Wang Yi's foremost general, known for his exceptional dual-wielding skills. I have heard that the swords, often considered soft and disadvantageous on the battlefield, became more formidable than halberds in his hands. Could it be that the predecessor is? Li Mabai nodded in acknowledgement. He then continued, that incident from 30 years ago is a subject none of us wish to revisit. After that event, Wang Yi's strength waned, and Yao Yuan was forced into a distant separation from the Jianghu Academy. I, too, have been haunted by inner demons each time I sense the weight of the heavens. It feels as though 1,000 ants are gnawing at my flesh. Jin Xian felt a sense of humility at this revelation. Aware that it was a personal matter for them, Wang Guangyu suddenly became agitated, shaking Li Mabai's shoulder. Why did you not tell me earlier, knowing all this? I cannot forget that fateful New Year's Eve, when the heavy snow sealed the city, nor can I forget Wang Yi's 3 cries of despair to the heavens. The time has not yet come, Li Mabai replied, but now that this veil has been lifted, I shall no longer conceal the truth. He recounted. On the night of that battle 30 years ago, all the soldiers raised their cups in celebration. The following day, Wang Yi and Yao Yuan, who was then serving as the strategist, were summoned to Linen City to meet the emperor, who intended to confer titles and honors upon them. At that moment, I thought little of it and was even somewhat incensed at not being called to the capital. On the second day after Wang Yi and Yao Yuan's departure, a swift messenger arrived with alarming news. Wang Yi had encountered a horde of assassins hired by his adversaries and was besieged on the road. I led my troops to his rescue, only to be captured by the forces of the Wang family from Qizhou, thus tarnishing my reputation with the accusation of usurpation. Meanwhile, in the capital, Yao Yuan and Wang Yi were also under pressure from the emperor, who demanded the disbandment of Wang Yi's loyal army of 100,000 men. Yielding to this pressure and wishing to prevent chaos in the realm, Wang Yi reluctantly relinquished his military command. Later, when I was led to the execution ground, Wang Yi sacrificed his own cultivation to save me. Consequently, the 3 of us were exiled to the northwest, with Wang Yi stripped of his clan membership by his own kin in Qingzhou, while Yao Yuan was separated from his beloved, the head of Jianghu Academy, Xia Shui. This secret was meant to be buried deep, yet you have now ventured onto the path that Wang Yi had always wished you to avoid. The collusion between the Li and Wang families to relinquish military power over a cup of wine has come to be known as the Linen Red Robe Incident. Bloodless, yet it has stained the garments of many. Before his departure, Yao Yuan likely intended for you to follow in Wang Yi's footsteps, without foreseeing that you might meet a similar fate. Wang Guangyu, upon hearing this, remained in a daze for an extended period. The figure clad in a silver-embroidered robe on that snowy New Year's Eve was indeed a member of the Wang family from Qizhou? Yes, and I sensed his profound aura. He could not be much older than you and was likely at the initial stage of the earthquake realm. I speculate he is Wang Haoran, son of Wang Xiaodian, the current leader of the Qingzhou royal family, acclaimed as a once-in-a-millennium martial genius and a military prodigy. Should you seek vengeance against him, the task would prove exceedingly arduous. Wang Guangyu finally snapped back to reality, but his expression remained inscrutable. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the night gradually enveloped the last remnants of daylight. He stood atop the city walls, gazing at the sunset for a considerable time until it disappeared entirely, before turning to descend into the city. In the darkness, his facial expression was obscured, leaving it impossible to discern his thoughts. The night passed in silence. The following day, Wang Guangyu arose early, long before the soldiers in the city stirred from their slumber. He penned a letter to Jin Xian, bidding farewell with the words, "See you again in the Jianghu." Accompanied by Li Mabai, he rode eastward. In the deep winter night, as snow fell over Jizhou, intoxicated, he composed poetry at the Baya Tower. Since the defeat of the Xiongnu at Taiyan City, the entire realm was aware of the achievements of the Taiping dynasty. Jin Xian was hailed as a divine general, rising to the rank of third-grade official. Consequently, the court dispatched tens of thousands of troops to Taiyan City and Jiangzhou, and leveraging this military strength, Jin Xian commenced a counteroffensive. Poets from the academy sang his praises with fervent ink. Yet Jin Xian openly acknowledged a certain Wang Guangyu as the true hero of the city's defense. The court buzzed with speculation about this remarkable figure named Wang Guangyu. Yet no one could ascertain his true identity. Only the young Fengwen, deemed by the imperial teacher as possessing the qualities of a prime minister, smiled silently. Within Jianghu Academy, many women took to their quills to compose poetry, suggesting that those seeking marriage should aspire to wed the divine general, while those harboring feelings of affection should think of Wang Guangyu. Only a martial prodigy selected as a direct disciple by the Academy's head turned her gaze towards the vast waters of the Yangtze River. The fortune-telling immortal had descended, proclaiming that women could change their fate to marry the divine general, while men could alter their destinies to become wandering heroes like Wang Guangyu. In the ink-stained city of Jianghu, Wang Guangyu and Li Mabai strolled through the bustling streets, overhearing the whispers and rumors that filled the air around them. In the land by the Yangtze River, the gallant Wang Youxiao vanquished an 800-foot dragon and departed with grace. Rumors of romantic entanglements surrounded him, alleging an affair with a courtesan. In truth, Wang Youxiao was the leader of a demonic sect, and his slaying of the Xiongnu was for a blood sacrifice. Last night, he had visited our town and stolen a pig from a village in the southern district. Unable to contain himself, Li Mabai erupted into laughter, while Wang Guangyu's face flushed with embarrassment. It would have been better had he simply fled that day. From Tian City to Jianghu's Mohan City, he endured the trials of the journey, transitioning from late autumn to the depths of winter. The city was beset by wind and snow, yet the atmosphere felt less desolate than that of Tian. In the depths of winter, as the year-end approached, the night gradually engulfed the setting sun, and red lanterns adorned Mohan City, radiating a peaceful ambience that had long been absent. Wang Guangyu walked along the main thoroughfare of Mohan City, reminiscent of the familiar path outside his home in Shigu County. A smile finally broke across his long, stiffened face, though it remained unclear whether it stemmed from the city's atmosphere or from memories of old friends, or perhaps a blend of both. Only he knew the answer. Master, the last time I seized a considerable amount of silver from that stronghold. Shall we indulge in dumplings at a restaurant? Li Mabai replied with a grin. The two men tethered their horses at a dining establishment named Baihe Tower, requesting the proprietor to provide fodder for their lean steeds. After shaking off the snow from their cloaks and taming their disheveled hair, they stepped inside. The restaurant was filled with warmth and patrons, bustling with life. Wang Guangyu and Li Mabai quickly found a table and ordered a plate of pork dumplings. As Wang Guangyu stretched his still-healing left arm, ready to dig in, a young scholar-like man stumbled into the doorway. The patrons seemed unperturbed by such occurrences, continuing their meals and drinks. The waiter, wiping his hands with a cloth, approached to usher the young man out. I am not here to beg for food. I merely stumbled and fell inside. There is no need to escort me away. I can manage on my own. However, his pale visage and parched lips betrayed his plight. Just as Wang Guangyu opened his mouth to call out to the young man, he vanished into the snowstorm. Having witnessed countless tragedies, Wang Guangyu felt little surprise, only a twinge of curiosity before returning to the plate of dumplings. This might have been the finest meal Wang Guangyu had enjoyed since descending the mountain. Even if he could catch some game along the way, it lacked the necessary accompaniments, rendering it dry and difficult to swallow. After settling the bill, he stepped out of the restaurant, still savoring the taste. The biting cold no longer felt as harsh. Knowing you crave dumplings, Master may be frugal, yet he still has a few coins to spare, Li Mabai remarked. Emerging from the establishment with a basket of dumplings in hand, the two made their way toward the hitching post, only to discover a young man lying unconscious in the snowy alley, already overcome by the cold. Master, we must save him, if this continues. He will perish in the snow tonight, Li Mabai urged. Nodding in agreement, Wang Guangyu hoisted the young man onto his back and slowly made his way toward the inn. Upon entering the inn, Wang Guangyu assisted the young man onto the bed. Throughout their journey, luck had favored them with the occasional shelter from the wind and snow, while misfortune would have left them to sleep under the open sky. Initially, the inn appeared exceedingly ordinary, merely a place to rest their weary feet. However, it now felt as luxurious as an emperor's chamber. Young man, he thought, the road ahead remains long. I have led troops into battle, and sleeping in snowdrifts was a common occurrence. As the master and disciple engaged in casual conversation, the man lying on the bed suddenly erupted into a fit of coughing, awakening abruptly. Who are you two, and how did I end up here? Hey, take it easy with your words. You were found unconscious in a snow-laden alley, and it was my kindness that rescued you, Wang Guangyu replied. The young man sheepishly smiled. Ah, I see. I thought I had been captured and sold by some slave trader. Just as he spoke, an unharmonious sound emanated from his stomach. Wang Guangyu, unable to bear it, reluctantly handed over the basket of dumplings he had purchased for Li Mobi. Here, eat first. Whatever you do, it is best to have a meal before discussing anything further. However, upon seeing the dumplings, the young man pushed them away vehemently. You two are from Baya Tower, aren't you? Humph. I knew no one could be so benevolent. He gritted his teeth, filled with disdain. As scholars, we shall not partake in the food offered by traitors. You must be mistaken, Wang Guangyu explained. My master and I are mere travelers passing through, who bought a basket of dumplings. Please, eat them as a gift from the wandering hero Wang. Upon hearing this, the young man struggled for some time before finally devouring the dumplings hastily. He abandoned any pretense of decorum, shoving the dumplings into his mouth with fervor. Between bites, he remarked, since you are travelers, you should leave by tomorrow. This city is no place for the faint of heart. I am Qin Rue, the second son of General Qin Jian from the northwest. After our defeat in Liangzhou, my elder brother and father fell in battle, with years of constant warfare. The court is conscripting soldiers en masse, and this city of Mohin is no exception. As a scholar, I had hoped to join the fight, but my brother insisted I remain here to uphold the Qin family's legacy. As the able-bodied men of the city rushed off to war, their families faced ill treatment. The owner of Baihe Tower and the lord of Mohin conspired together, ruthlessly abducting women and forcing them into brothels, profiting from their misery. Meanwhile, the local aristocrats indulged in revelry, utterly oblivious to the impending doom of their nation. He swallowed the last dumpling, continuing, before my father fell in battle. I held the title of the general's son, able to curb some of these atrocities. Yet, when Liangzhou fell, their true nature was revealed, leading to my current pitiful state. All thanks to their machinations. Having expressed the grievances he had harbored for so long, tears streamed down his face as he turned and knelt. I, Qin Rue, am now destitute. I can only bow in gratitude for this meal. Without waiting for a response from Wang Guangyu and his master, the young man dashed out, heading straight for Baya Tower. He burst into the establishment, seized an unfinished jug of wine from a table, and ascended to the rooftop of Baya Tower. As he sipped his wine, he took up his brush to compose poetry on the square plaque of the White Crane Tower. The wind sweeps in the snow, while the moon envelopes the silk. At night, the White Crane greets the tavern. The entire tower remains oblivious to the grief of a fallen nation, still intoxicated by gold and the allure of paper flowers. In the 16th chapter, atop the White Crane Tower, he was suddenly ambushed, under the moonlight. His dual blade struck down his enemies. Qin Rue finished his poem and tilted his head back to drain the last drop of wine, laughing heartily on the tower's summit. His late-night escapade had already drawn the attention of the inn's server. Initially, the server mistook the noise for a rat disturbance and paid it little mind. However, when he heard the raucous laughter outside, he promptly rose and summoned the other staff to investigate. At last, illuminated by the moonlight, they discerned a young man scribbling on the plaque of the White Crane Tower. Upon closer inspection, it was indeed Qin Rue, the son of the deceased commander, notorious for causing trouble at this very establishment. You rascal, have you lost your mind? What brings you to the top of my White Crane Tower at such an hour? Hurry and get down. Look, is he inscribing something on the plaque? Isn't he vandalizing it? Bring him down and give him a good thrashing. Qin Rue hurled his wine jug downwards. You wretches, I intend to destroy your sign. Wang Yue, the owner of the White Crane Tower, compels the virtuous to act against their will, and you sycophants are no better. The inn staff rolled up their sleeves, ready to ascend and beat Qin Rue mercilessly. He continued to laugh wildly, completely unfazed by the peril he faced. His simple garb was seized by several hands, and clubs and rolling pins struck him. Suddenly, a figure clad in a black robe and mask appeared, stepping into the moonlight. Leaping onto the White Crane Tower, he unleashed an aura that sent the inn staff reeling. He seized Qin Rue and fled to a place where the inn staff could no longer pursue them. Removing his mask, it was revealed to be Wang Guangyu. Have you lost your senses, boy? With such meager skills, you dare mimic drunken poetry? I merely wish for them to recognize that the integrity of scholars remains unblemished. There will always be those who dare confront such disgraceful acts. Qin Rue, bruised and battered, wore a wretched expression, prompting a suppressed laugh from Wang Guangyu. By the way, you mentioned the city is steeped in misery. Why is it that wherever I tread, I encounter scenes of tranquility? Come, walk with me, and you shall see. The two traversed the central avenue of ink-stained city. The northern district exuded peace, with lights aglow even in the late hours. Yet upon reaching the southern district, the contrast was stark. The southern area was desolate, with the wind and snow collapsing dilapidated structures. At night, countless souls huddled in tattered quilts, trembling in the cold. Ink-stained city, once renowned for its illustrious scholars, now lay in such a pitiful state. In times of prosperity, it is the aristocrats who thrive, especially in this era of turmoil, where lives are as expendable as grass. Qin Rue lamented. Wang Guangyu had yet to grasp the stark disparity between the southern and northern parts of the city when a figure appeared behind them. It was a gaunt man, devoid of any warmth in his gaze, but rather filled with arrogance and malice, a look typical of the tyrannical local despots. Qin Rue, your father is a great hero who sacrificed himself for the nation, embodying loyalty and valor. Why do you still wish to linger in this world? If you find it difficult to act, allow me, the lord of this city, to assist you. As for this outsider, since you have meddled in affairs that do not concern you, you must face the consequences. The emaciated man squinted his beady eyes, his aura surging violently. Before Wang Guangyu and the others could retreat, another voice resounded behind them. You smashed my Baya Tower sign and still wish to depart? Another rotund figure emerged, his belly full and his lips twitching like a rat's whiskers, seemingly enraged to the utmost. The portly man approached slowly, his aura similarly swelling. The emaciated man let out a chilling laugh. Since you are here, I shall refrain from striking. Instead, you may witness a delightful spectacle of cat and mouse. Haha. Both of you in the earthquake realm, I shall take my leave soon. Wang Guangyu drew his twin blades, forcing himself to utter a phrase. His body trembled, yet his grip on the blades remained steady. The rotund man lunged, delivering a powerful punch toward Wang Guangyu. Wang Guangyu swung his blade to deflect it, but could not sever the energy entwining the man's fist. He was sent staggering back several dozen steps, leaving deep imprints in the snow. In the midst of the onslaught, the young wanderer was destined to meet a tragic end at my hands. It is indeed a pity. However, I have a penchant for slaying prodigies. The rotund man hurled another punch, only to be repelled by a stream of white sword energy. The plump individual looked up. Who are you? The newcomer, wielding a pair of black and white swords, was none other than Li Mabai. You fat swine, can't your old eyes discern the clarity of my blades? How is it that the gales of the northwest cannot shatter your old bones? Do not forget who sent you to the execution ground, and who personally ended that woman's life. Li Mabai's aura surged. You have entered the celestial realm? No, it does not seem like it. It appears that the death of that woman has greatly affected you. Old Zhang, stop watching the show. Let us join forces to crush this old skeleton. Upon hearing this, the emaciated man drew 2 daggers from his sleeve. You may certainly try. Li Mabai engaged both adversaries, the battle intensifying. Qin Rue, already astounded by the prowess displayed in this confrontation, found himself at a loss for words. Wang Guangyu sat quietly to the side, regulating his breath. Master, leave that portly fellow to me. The 3 entangled in combat were taken aback by this declaration. Practicing the blade, and once again taken as Li Mabai's disciple. You cannot possibly be the offspring of Wang Yi. A flicker of crimson light flashed in Wang Guangyu's eyes. Wang Guangyu, son of Wang Yi, has come here for revenge. Before Li Mabai could react, he leaped high, delivering a downward strike aimed at Wang Yue, the master of Baya Tower. You foolish child, seeking death. I could not kill Wang back then. Do you think I cannot deal with you? The rotund man kicked Wang Guangyu down. As Li Mabai rushed to assist, he found himself ensnared by the emaciated man. I have a significant grudge against Wang Yi as well. This time, I shall sacrifice my lifespan to forcibly enhance my strength. As long as I can delay until that young brat is slain, it shall be worth it. The emaciated man spoke coldly. After being kicked down by a single blow, Wang Guangyu's energy did not wane. Instead, it surged more fiercely. The crimson glow in his eyes intensified as he violently slashed forward. This strike shattered Wang Yue's protective energy. The stout man was somewhat astonished. How could this young man possess such formidable strength? Although he had grown a bit stronger, was it truly of any significance? Another punch landed, sending Wang Guangyu crashing to the ground. Yet, his energy continued to swell. This time, he leapt up again, now able to match Wang Yue in combat. He rose and fell repeatedly, until at last, his energy had surpassed that of Wang Yue. Wang Yue finally understood. The innate blade embryo was consuming the innate blade energy he had possessed since birth. Madness, sheer madness. Wang Guangyu spoke little. He raised his hand towards the heavens and pointed down towards the earth, replicating the technique used by Li Mabai atop Kongtong Mountain. 2 blades unleashed soaring sword energy towards Wang Yue. The sword energy stirred the snow and wind, enveloping the world in a blinding white haze. When the chaos subsided, Wang Yue found himself disarmed, his arms severed. Dear nephew, we are all of the Wang family from Qizhou. Uncle was wrong. Spare my life. The stout man disregarded the emaciated man and hastily retreated. Wang Guangyu made no pursuit. He charged straight ahead. With 100 steps of blade mastery, he sought to claim heads. The crimson glow in his eyes faded. He could no longer withstand the toll of the blade embryo energy and collapsed into the snow. In linen, I will settle accounts one by one. 17 times, his name was infamous in the court, while in the Jianghu, it soared to prominence. Seeing Wang Guangyu fall, Qin Rui hurried over to assist him. Li Mabe and the emaciated man continued their fierce duel. Upon witnessing Wang Yue's headless corpse, the emaciated man's composure shattered. The energy, forcefully extended through longevity, began to wane. Undoubtedly, defeat was merely a matter of time. Blood trickled from the corner of Wang Guangyu's mouth as he regained consciousness. Today, I too have slain a ground-shaking foe, ha ha ha. Before he could finish his sentence, a violent cough seized him. A flash of black and white sword energy streaked across the sky, resulting in yet another headless body falling to the ground. Li Mabe approached slowly. You acted too impulsively today. The innate energy of the blade embryo, once consumed, cannot be replenished. You are destroying your own talent. Wang Guangyu managed a faint smile. Fortunately, this is my first use, and the quantity was not excessive. Otherwise, you would never reach the realm of ground shaking in your lifetime. Qin Rui's expression suddenly changed. You have killed the lord of Mohen City and a court official. This is a grave crime. If soldiers from the court come after you, no matter how powerful you are, you cannot withstand thousands of troops. Wang Guangyu forced himself to stand. Li Mabe had already grasped the situation and retrieved a wooden sword from the black box behind him. The same one he had used in the duel against Jin Xian in Tian City. Wang Guangyu took the wooden sword and fiercely plunged it into the belly of the headless corpse. He then produced a purple sandalwood brush and inscribed upon the sword, "Treacherous ministers, acting on heaven's behalf, Wang the Wanderer shall slay you. I must express my gratitude to Jin Xian for bestowing upon me the name of Wang Yoxia, which has shielded me from calamity." Qin Rui assisted Wang Guangyu in returning to the inn, while Li Mabai followed silently. The trio departed from this blood-soaked locale. The impoverished inhabitants of the southern city huddled within their dwellings, too fearful to gaze upon the tumult outside, lest they witness sights that could cost them their lives. Wang Guangyu cast a lingering glance at the desolate scenery of the southern city, letting out a deep sigh, knowing he was powerless to alter the pervasive sorrow surrounding him. The snow fell increasingly heavy, gradually obscuring the two headless corpses. As for who would discover them the following day, none could say. Returning late at night, I was fortunate that my mother is kind-hearted. Otherwise, your belongings would have been seized to settle your bill, the innkeeper's wife bellowed, her bosom heaving with indignation. My sincerest apologies. I am a scholar from Jiangnan, traveling northward and encountering snow for the first time. This unexpected snowfall stirred my spirit, and I spent the day frolicking with my attendant, an old servant, forgetting the time. Alas, I even stumbled in the snow and injured my waist. I beg your indulgence. Wang Guangyu forced a smile, though it was hardly charming. The innkeeper's wife chose not to press the matter further. As Wang Guangyu and his companion slowly turned towards their room, she remarked on the folly of a young man needing assistance to walk after a mere fall, attributing it to his indulgent lifestyle. Upon hearing this, Wang Guangyu felt a jolt of defiance and insisted on walking unaided, striding boldly into the room. Once the door was closed, he lamented on the bed, his cries alleviating some of the tense atmosphere that had pervaded the night. The following day, Wang Guangyu lay in bed, every movement a source of pain. Li Mabai, probing with his energy, discerned that it was merely a matter of soreness and chuckled, jesting about the consequences of recklessly employing his innate vigor. So, you have learned a valuable lesson, haven't you? He teased. Am I to fear such trivial discomfort? Wang Guangyu retorted, recalling how he had harnessed his energy to surge into the earth-shattering realm, even if his current state did not match that power. He still felt a surge akin to Zhao Gui's overnight ascension. Practice your swordplay. Li Mabai pinched Wang Guangyu's calf, provoking a yelp of pain from him. Young man, every endeavor requires patience, rest when needed, and toil when necessary. Even sword training must adhere to this principle. Your frail constitution can afford to rest for now. Meanwhile, Qin Rui was still in a deep slumber, suddenly jolted awake as if from a nightmare. I dreamed of two headless corpses chasing me, he confessed. Being merely a scholar, he had never witnessed the brutality of murder. Initially elated to have escaped death, he soon found himself haunted by visions of the corpses, leading to a restless night filled with nightmares. A commotion erupted in the streets. The city lord was murdered last night. The city's elite and affluent merchants rushed towards the lord's residence, their plump, shrewd faces barely managing to shed a few tears, declaring their intentions to honor the lord with a grand funeral. Upon arriving at the lord's estate, they beheld a wooden sword inscribed with numerous words. This rogue Wang is indeed a heinous criminal, having assassinated a high-ranking official of the court. Even if we must dig 3 feet into the ground, we shall unearth him. The city lord is a rare virtuous minister of our Taiping dynasty. Without him, how could our northern city flourish so magnificently? Last night's murder. It is likely that this rogue Wang has not fled far. I propose we seal the city and conduct thorough searches house by house. The wealthy and powerful, each with their own opinions, argue incessantly. No one pays heed to the words of the humble innkeeper up by a tower. The city of Mohen is under lockdown. A grand search operation commences. The officials and soldiers of the county forcibly invade private residences, under the pretext of thoroughly investigating the court's command violators, plundering wealth in the process. In the northern city, there is still some profit to be gained. However, in the southern city, these soldiers are reluctant to enter the homes of the common folk. There is simply no gain to be had. Ultimately, this thorough investigation leads them to the inn operated by Wang Guangyu. Sir, how could this humble inn attract the notorious rogue Wan? Please, allow us some leniency. The innkeeper pleads, her expression one of grievance, as she faces a stern-faced soldier devoted to his duty, unwavering in his enforcement of the law. The soldier pushes the innkeeper aside and strides directly into the inn, bursting into each guest's room to search. Upon reaching the room occupied by Wang Guangyu, the soldiers grow suspicious at the sight of the former commander's second son, Qin Rui, lying on the bed. They lift the man's garments, revealing the city lord's profound martial prowess, with bloodstains left at the scene. No assassin, no matter how skilled, would escape unscathed. Wang Guangyu tears open his clothing, revealing no injuries save for an old scar on his left arm. This scar clearly indicates a past wound, yet why is this young man lying in bed? He is but a traveler from Jianghu, frail and weak, having spent the entire night in a brothel. The soldier's lips curl into a fleeting smile, quickly vanishing, as if he is making a considerable effort to suppress his amusement. Open this black box, he commands. It stands as tall as a person. How would I know if someone is concealed within? Li Mabai turns and retrieves several butchering knives from the black box. I said to open everything. Do you not comprehend human speech, old man? Wang Guangyu rises from the bed, supporting his waist, and approaches the soldier, slipping several taels of silver into his hand. Sir, have mercy. This black box contains nothing but filthy items. This old servant is merely a butcher. He does not clean after slaughtering pigs or cattle. And I fear it is filled to the brim with rotting flesh and muck, which might offend your esteemed eyes upon opening. The soldier, already disgruntled at finding no profit in the humble inn, brightens at the sight of the silver. Very well, then let it be as you say. The soldier turns and moves toward the next room. That night, 3 figures ride out of the southern city, traversing the fields at the edge of the village. The city walls of the southern city have long fallen into disrepair. The funds allocated by the court have been embezzled by the city lord and various local dignitaries. Who could have anticipated that the assassin would flee through the southern city? Yet, who would care? The city lord has met a gruesome end, hardly resembling a human. Having wasted resources and efforts in pursuit, with no rewards to show, fearing the mysterious forces behind the unknown assassin. The search in the town is merely a pretext to exploit the name of the deceased lord for personal gain. As for the laws of the court, the Li family wields considerable influence, yet everyone knows their reach does not extend to this humble town. Concerning the enigmatic wanderer known as the King of Chopping, a new legend is destined to arise. A ruthless assailant of court officials, a chivalrous figure traversing the realm with naught but a wooden sword. Outside Mohen City, beneath the dual oaths of the mountains, 3 figures emerged from the collapsed southern city wall, galloping forth. Qin Rui, what are your plans now? You cannot return to Mohen City, one inquired. Fear not, by dawn, I shall seek an old acquaintance in Yongzhou Hanzhong to find some work, Qin Rui assured. Wang Guangyu, observing Qin Rui's frail form, expressed concern. Can your slight physique endure the journey to Yangzhou? There are many bandits along the way. Taken aback, Qin Rui laughed. Oh, it's nothing. After all, I come from a family of military generals. Dealing with a few bandits should pose no challenge. Aha. Then how is it that you were so soundly beaten by a lackey from Baihe Tower? Wang Guangyu retorted. Awkwardly, Qin Rui replied, as a child. I was engrossed in military texts. My knowledge of martial arts and battlefield prowess is regrettably scant. Yangzhou may not be far, but with your current abilities, traveling alone could be perilous. Instead, why not take on some menial tasks with merchant caravans and ride with them to Yangzhou? Wang Guangyu suggested. Searching for a sturdy branch to fashion a wooden sign, he inscribed a message upon it with a purple sandalwood brush and handed it to Qin Rui. Should you arrive at Taiyan City in Yangzhou and seek military service, present this sign to General Jin. As a descendant of Commander Qin Jian, General Jin will not treat you unjustly. Gratefully, Qin Rui accepted the sign. A gust of cold wind swept through as the three stood resolutely against the snowstorm, resembling noble figures amidst the wintry landscape. Shall we find a cave to shelter from the cold? Aren't you too freezing? Wang Guangyu, shedding his earlier gallant demeanor, stamped his feet and trembled. I was waiting for you to say that. Let us hurry before we freeze to death. Qin Rui, now shivering, joined Wang Guangyu in dashing toward a nearby cave. Li Mobai, with a faint smile, leisurely followed behind. Fortunately, the cave held no hibernating bears or lurking predators. The trio ignited a fire within the cave, and Wang Guangyu, warming his hands, finally felt some comfort. He noticed how Li Mobai, who had traversed the snow without a trace, remained untouched by the biting wind and snow. Master, you claim not to feel the cold. Yet on New Year's Eve in Shigu City, you mentioned nearly succumbing to the chill in the mountains. It seems you were merely pretending, Wang Guangyu teased. Li Mobai smiled awkwardly, yet his gaze turned somber. Wang Guangyu and Qin Rui soon succumbed to slumber by the fire, oblivious to the fleeting shadow of loneliness that flickered in Li Mobai's eyes. If you were still here, perhaps I would have charged into linen with a single stroke of my sword. The night passed in silence. The following morning, as the snowstorm ceased abruptly with the rising sun, the biting cold was nowhere to be felt. The campfire had long since extinguished, and Qin Rui tightened his not-so-thick clothing. Gazing toward the newly risen crimson sun, a flicker of covert resolve flashed in his eyes. It was time to embark on the journey. Wang Guangyu, rubbing his sleepy eyes, approached Qin Rui from behind, while Li Mabe remained silent by their side. Let us rest here. Who knows when the caravan heading northwest will arrive? Such caravans are becoming increasingly scarce. Alas, I am destined to venture northwest. The heavens are quite adept at leading one to endure hardships. Is the universe indifferent, treating all beings as mere fodder? The two engaged in a disjointed conversation. In the distance, a caravan slowly approached, moving westward in the morning light. Good sir, where is your caravan headed? If it is to Yangzhou or Lianzhou, could I perhaps accompany you for a while? I have some silver to spare. The caravan leader, with a head full of graying hair, or a countenance that appeared honest and sincere. The Northwest is a place of bitter cold. You, with your scholar-esque demeanor. Do you truly think your fragile frame can withstand the harshness of the winds and frost there? Wishing to profit from the turmoil of war is ill-advised. I have seen many like you, who either perish by the swords of bandits or succumb to the elements. If a scholar does not concern himself with the fate of the realm, what use is his education? I am indeed heading to the Northwest. Young man, you will not last long this way. I have ample silver, let me aboard. With a leap, Qin Rui ascended the cart and turned to face Wang Guangyu. Farewell for now. We shall meet again in the world of rivers and lakes. Clad in simple garments and standing in the morning sun, he exuded a certain youthful vigor. Before the moment could linger, Qin Rui stumbled and fell from the cart. He could not maintain his footing. Wang Guangyu returned the gesture with a bow. Farewell for now. We shall meet again in the world of rivers and lakes. This time, they parted without the luxury of wine. Scarcely a drop of water was shared. Once I become a prominent figure in the Northwest, I shall treat you to the imperial wine. Very well. Qin Rui turned once more, climbing onto the cart. This time without looking back, the caravan resumed its journey northwest, akin to a serpentine creature gliding gracefully. This young man's path will surely not be an easy one. Wang Guangyu reflected with a hint of melancholy. Rather than worrying about him, focus on your own health, Li Mabe remarked gently from the side. My health is robust. What issues could I possibly have? Previously, when I examined you, I merely stated it was a mere flesh wound. In truth, your inner energy is chaotic and in utter disarray. Then why did you claim it was just a flesh wound? Qin Rui is far from the simpleton he appears to be. Having spent only a few days with him, never reveal your weaknesses in unfamiliar surroundings. Master, you jest. What can that young man accomplish? Besides, my body is quite solid. Li Mabe fell silent, pointing at Wang Guangyu's abdomen. Wang Guangyu expelled a mouthful of blackened blood and fainted once more. Crossing borders is inherently perilous, fraught with the specter of death, even more so when traversing two vast realms. Fortunately, the foundation of talent remains intact. Li Mabe hoisted the unconscious Wang Guangyu onto his back and ventured once more into the depths of the cave. By the time Wang Guangyu regained consciousness, the setting sun had already cast its golden hues upon the earth, while the encroaching darkness gradually engulfed the waning orb, reminiscent of a life nearing its end. Wang Guangyu awoke with a throbbing headache, muttering as he propped himself up, clutching his abdomen in agony. Damn it, Li old man, what have you done? I recall you merely touched me with a finger, and then I fainted. Li Mabe's lips curled into a smirk. Call me master. You are just like Wang Yi, full of nonsense when not pretending. He shook his head in disbelief. As Li Mabe spoke, he busied himself with a rabbit he had caught, likely from some undisclosed location. This area, though impacted by conflict, was still relatively unscathed, had they been in the northwest. Even wild rabbits might have been replaced by the grim fate of cannibalism. Li Mabe skewered the rabbit over the crackling fire, the crimson flames gradually consuming its flesh. Inch by inch. Once you've healed, continue your journey southward. They say those who survive great tribulations are destined for fortune. Perhaps, once your wounds mend, you shall step into the latter stages of Qi mastery. Really? Hard to say, it may very well be so.